As you may or may not know, my wife and I just got back from Vegas. It was a great trip. We ate, we drank, we had a blast. But then we got home and looked at the credit card, and I gotta say, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having, $25 for a drink is a ripoff. Frickin' Vegas. I hate getting ripped off, and so do the lads over at Harry's. They spent years watching the razor blade companies rip people off and said, no more. Not all heroes wear capes, my friends, and they want to prove that they're legit by offering you hot dogs a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. I've been telling you about them for months, and I'm genuinely proud to have Harry's as a sponsor of this show. I wasn't kidding. The plastic, futuristic-looking crap razors you get at the store are overpriced and they're poor quality. Harry's blades are crisp, clean, and classy. They're the kind of razor you'd expect your grandpa to have on his bathroom counter. And most importantly, they work. Shave after shave, they're so smooth, they're precise. I used to go through the crappy store blades all the time, but Harry's are built to last. And they're not just better quality than the other names, they're more affordable. And they deliver. Just set your schedule, and for as little as $2, new blades, shaving creams, lotions, everything you need, right to your door when you need it. I genuinely cannot think of a reason not to try Harry's. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsors. They're the best shaving supplies I've ever used. Try them out, and if you're not happy, your shave's on them. And unlike the other subscriptions, they're really easy to cancel if you want to too, which is a nice bonus, but believe me, you're not going to want to cancel. Getting ripped off isn't funny. Switch to Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. That's harrys.com/RTG for a $3 trial set. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and we geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening to the show. And this week it is episode 240, and it's one of our prestigious Patreon poll winning episodes. If you by chance don't know, every month our Patreons get to vote for a game that I've never played before, and then I play it, and I think you can see where this is going. And to kick off every year, I dedicate an entire Patreon poll to JRPGs because I hear you, all right? I hear all of you asking for us to cover more JRPGs on the show, and The Legend of Dragoon for the PlayStation 1 pulled out the victory this time. I finally played it. I have a lot to say about it, and this one was tough for a couple of reasons, all right? Number one, I just don't love JRPGs. There are exceptions. But most of them are games that I grew up with, your Earthbounds and your Mario RPGs and your Final Fantasies and, you know, the old school ones and stuff like that. It's just not my favorite genre, so they really need to hook me to get me to fall in love with them. And number two, I have no nostalgia for The Legend of Dragoon, and it's a tricky juggling act when we're covering a game that people grew up loving, but I'm playing it for the first time in 2023, and, you know, looking past its flaws didn't matter to people playing it back in the 90s, early 2000s, whatever, but now it's a lot harder to do. And I'm not judging any of you that love this game because I have games like that I grew up playing at Earthbound. I love Earthbound more than almost any game on this planet, but the inventory system, as we talk about a little bit in this game, is awful. And I can look past that because I love it. So I always have a tough time when it's a game that people love from their childhoods that I'm experiencing for the first time now, you know? And frankly, just as a whole, I find JRPG episodes tough because so many of our listeners do love these games, this genre, and they want more of them on the show. And to be honest with all of you, I think we've covered every JRPG I have ever played at this point on the show. So if there's one out there that you've been hoping that we cover, I probably haven't played it. So I have to play them from scratch now to review them. And they're so long, and I can't stand playing too many of them in a row. It's like eating a food that you don't really like over and over again. So just, if you've been asking or patiently waiting for us to cover your favorite JRPG, just know they're going to be spaced out because they're usually long as fuck. I have a very big backlog, and I need to cleanse my palate after I get through one of these games. But The Legend of Dragoon is done. For the record, I did not finish it. I got stuck. I finally looked up how it ends, but I did put between 25 and 30 hours into it. So it's done. I have a lot to say about it. And to be honest, going into this episode, I was really kind of dreading it because I played Dragoon and there's some stuff I really like and there's some stuff I really hate. And I know this is a popular game, and I was worried we'd have another Sonic Adventure 2 on our hands, but I don't think that's the case. I think I was tough but fair this week. My guest this time around is my pal Keegs. He did grow up playing this one. He does love this game, and I think we met in the middle. I think it was a fair episode. It's a long episode, but when we finished it and we hit stop recording, I thought to myself, like, I don't think my P.O. box is going to get letter bombed for this one. If you're going to hate me, this episode won't be the reason, I hope. And we'll get to all that in just a minute, because speaking of giving you a reason to hate me, it's time for another edition of the Remember the Game infamous intro. Dun, 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 dun. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard, and consider this your warning. Our intros are kind of long, but they're fun. We talk video games and stuff. Give them a chance. And they are 26% shorter than the average battle in The Legend of Dragoon. Jesus Christ. But seriously, if you do want to skip it, go about 30 minutes up the road and you'll hear the music. It won't be in The Legend of Dragoon talk, right? I have to get my plugs out of the way. I got some exciting stuff to talk about in here, but I have to get my plugs out of the way. It's how we keep the bills on. We have merch. There's hoodies. There's t-shirts. There's posters. There's coffee mugs. All kinds of stuff. Rocking all kinds of incredible art designed by my man Joe from 4545creative.com. You can find all our merch at rememberthegamepodcast.com. If you're interested, it's a great way to support the show. And of course, if you don't like clothes, you can always just support us over on Patreon. Subscriptions start at $2 a month, like 50 cents a week, and you can get up to 4 extra podcasts a week. Every second Monday, we release Purple Monkey Dishwasher, our new Simpsons podcast, hosted by myself and Mark McHugh. Every Tuesday, I have The Rambling Idiot, where I talk about my comedy career, TV, movies, sports, the weather, whatever I feel like talking about. Friday is Game Patch, my modern gaming news show, where I talk about the biggest stories in modern video games, new releases, I give sales picks, etc. And Expansion Pass goes live every Thursday, and that's a different gaming show each week. There's rankings, there's looking back at characters, consoles, there's hypothetical episodes, there's some comedy episodes, there's a ton of modern game reviews. This past week on Expansion Pass, it was episode 153, and as the PS5 in particular is becoming more readily available, I've been getting a lot of, hey Adam, I just got a PS5, where do I start? Questions. So I went through both the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S libraries and offered some suggestions on where to start if you're new to one of those consoles. And as is becoming tradition, here is a sneak peek of last week's episode of Expansion Pass game suggestions for new PS5 and Xbox Series everything owners. So definitely, if you're new to PS5, check out the PS Plus collection. Comes with 20 games. My picks out of this collection, first and foremost, The Last of Us Remastered. This is the PS4 re-release of The Last of Us. It is outstanding. If you've never played The Last of Us, I smack you through the microphone. Please give it a chance. It's one of the best games ever made, in my opinion. I will say that while I absolutely recommend checking out The Last of Us Remastered, either through the PS Plus collection or just buying it for like $15 off the PSN, I'm not going to recommend The Last of Us Part 1, which, if you don't know, was the re-release of The Last of Us, but the PS5 re-release of it. I bought it day one. I played it. It's fine. It is not worth the full price tag. It just isn't. It's a great game, and it is probably the definitive way to play it. It's not worth it. If you've never played The Last of Us, just play the PS4 version, which is included in this PS Plus collection. That's now available on our archives. And this week for Expansion Pass 154, it's going to be one of my world-famous modern game reviews. And I'm going to look at Hi-Fi Rush, the rhythm-based action game from Tango Gameworks. It's currently on Xbox and PC. It will be spoiler-free as always, so don't sweat that. Again, subscriptions start at $2 a month. You get new podcasts every week, plus instant access to literally hundreds of ad-free bonus podcasts right there to download onto your phone. Plus, you can join our Remember the Game Discord. You get a chance to vote in our Patreon poll every month. You get the ability to submit comments to be read on our shows. You get DM with me, and you get a shout-out and get to hear me mispronounce your name like I'm about to do to most of these people. A huge thank you to all of our newest Patreons. Taylor Holt, Carnooch, Bruno Racine, sorry, Bruno. Kevin Miller, Steve Manning, Rick James, Beach. It says Beach, but I know it's Biatch. I love that. Bizel95, Weekend Trailer Park Supervisor, Randy Bobandy, Calixto Reyna, Chards in Charge, Jonathan McMillan, Uncle Tony, Old 8-Bit Dad, Shawnigan, Zach Hartmeyer, Jeff Moeller Hansen, Aqua Giraffe, Momac, Brandon White, Yebisu, Adam Blank Loves Echo the Dolphin. That's not true. Maya Good, Christopher Gianola, Jordan Donahue, Max Keebles, Big Chungus, and Luke from the city of Scotland. I love Scotland. I've never been there, but I really like to go there. Thank you all so much for the support and welcome to Remember the Game Industries. You can find all that at patreon.com/rememberthegame. And don't forget, 5% of our Patreon gets donated to charity each month. And we offer annual subscriptions that'll save you a month's fees if you pay for the year up front. Cha-cha! And finally, you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/rememberthegame. I have no schedule. I get on there whenever I can. Come by and look at my dumb face and tell me why I'm wrong, and we'll argue, and it's good times, all right? That's enough blowing myself. Let's blow in some cartridges and blow some of you. It's our opening segment here on the show. I read a few comments and questions from our Patreons, usually gaming related, but not always, and we call this segment Blowing in the Cartridge.
He blows all right. He blows big time.
That's it, honey. Get into the spirit.
Feeling it this week. I'm not stumbling over my words as often as I usually do. It's good. I'm feeling like I'm in the zone right now. Let's blow. Our first blower this week is Saskatchewan River Pirate, who wrote in and said, "Dear Mr. Blank, my son has been playing Shredder's Revenge on my phone via Netflix games, and I feel like it's near child abuse to play that with touch controls. So my question is, which way should I go for a Ninja Turtles purchase on the Switch? The Cowabunga Collection or Shredder's Revenge? Happy Mario Day." And yeah, I guess now by the day I'm recording this, Mario Day was 4 days ago, but it was left 4 days ago, so the story checks out. Boy, that's a good question. Cowabunga Collection or Shredder's Revenge? I think that Shredder's Revenge is the best Ninja Turtles game ever made, but there's a lot more meat on the collective bone in the Cowabunga Collection. So, but the thing about it is, if you're buying it primarily for you didn't mention how old your son is, Saskatchewan River Pirate. I'm assuming they're of the younger demographic. I don't know how many of the retro games in the Cowabunga Collection will wet a young gamer's whistle like Shredder's Revenge will. So if you're only thinking about buying it for your son, and I'm assuming your son's a little bit younger, I would probably recommend going with Shredder's Revenge, because like we were all kids where you could play the same game over and over again. You got 7 characters to play as, and there's lots to do in there. But where, it's like the Cowabunga Collection, a couple of the NES games, like basically, like to be honest with you, I don't think there's a game in the NES, like in Cowabunga Collection, that can stack up against Shredder's Revenge. And there's some great games in I love the Cowabunga Collection. There's reviews of both it and Shredder's Revenge in the expansion pass archives. But I don't think there's a single game in there that can stack up against Shredder's Revenge. So if you want your kid to get a heavy dose of nostalgia or a taste of the past, and you all want to get them like a dozen games at once, go with the Cowabunga Collection. But if you just want to get them one good game to play, I would go Shredder's Revenge. That would be my pick. If I was buying one of these for like my nephew, I would probably go Shredder's Revenge. I hope that helps, Saskatchewan River Pirate. Both great. I love the Ninja Turtles. Jake Carter wrote in and said, "Hey Adam, so in school, when you were asked for your name on the paper, did you ever leave your last name blank?" Okay, so I didn't, but I have 2 funny stories about this. 3. So the other day, somebody that I'm doing a show for in a couple of weeks, a comedy show, in Cold Lake, where I grew up and went to high school, they were going through an old yearbook and found my grade 12 yearbook photo, and I put it on Instagram, and somebody commented and said, "I guess this is proof that your last name really is blank. I always just assumed it was like an alias," which I actually get quite a bit. So for anyone that is wondering, no, it really is my last name. One time when I was in school, I was the first day of like grade 8 or grade 9. I got on the bus, and we had this old bus driver, Al. That was his name. He was this grumpy old man. And the first day, he told us all to write down our names and the seat we were sitting in, and then that was our assigned seat for the rest of the year. And so I wrote down my name, and then he came back when he got the list, and he was like, "What is this?" And in front of everybody, he was like yelling at me because I put Adam Blank. And I was like, "That really is my name." And the other kids were like, "That really is his name." And he's like, "Oh, sure it is." And then I guess he found out the truth, because the next day he apologized to me and then never talked to me again. So fuck you, Al, you crazy old man. And then the other time is I used to run my hockey team, and we ordered new jerseys. And I was the one that placed the order. I was the one that dealt with the company. They were calling me Mr. Blank in emails and over the phone and stuff like that. And then when I filled out the form for each jersey, it had like your number and then the name you wanted on the name bar. And obviously mine was 17. That's the number I wear, and blank. And when the jersey showed up, mine was the only one without a last name on it because they must have seen blank in the name bar part and decided instead of putting the name blank on my jersey, they just left it empty. And I liked it so much that I never did put my name on it. I was the only one on the team with no name on it. Yeah, it worked out really good. And in case anyone's wondering, I played goalie a lot. And like, you'd think with the last name blank, I would have been like that's the most perfect fucking name for a goalie ever, but I was really, really bad, so it didn't really work out. So yeah, I've had some adventures with that dumb name. Dan Cruz wrote in and said, hey, Adam, if you had to erase every game before the PS2, Xbox, GameCube era, or erase every game from that era up to now, and you could only play the half you kept for the rest of your life, which side would you choose? That's a good fucking question, Dan Cruz, because my first thought is to erase modern stuff. I love retro. I'll keep my NES, SNES, Genesis, everything behind the PS2, GameCube, Xbox era. There's a lot of great fucking games in there. But the problem is if I erase everything after, then we're not getting any more new games, whereas if I erase everything before, there's a finite number of games there, and games could go on for the rest of my life, but I could keep getting new games. You know what? It fucking pains me to admit it, but I'm gonna erase everything before the PS2, GameCube, Xbox era, incredibly reluctantly, because eventually I'm gonna play everything I want to play back there, and I have nothing new to play. Whereas I would rather take my chances on what's coming. So I'm incredibly reluctant. You're on double secret probation for asking that, Dan. But I'll erase everything before the PS2, GameCube, Xbox, including that fucking Saturn, you sons of bitches. Quintuple secret probation Silver wrote in and said, hi, Adam, with the eShop closing on March 27th for the Nintendo 3DS, I'm afraid a lot of digital content like DLC and digital-only games will disappear forever. Also, the price for a physical copy of a 3DS game will probably go up. Just look at certain GameCube games these days. What games should we buy before the closure of the eShop? What hidden gem should everybody have saved on their system? Continue your good work, Silver. Well, thank you, Silver. We talked about doing an expansion pass about this, but I gotta be honest with y'all. Like, I like my 3DS. I only probably played a half a dozen games on it. Like, my knowledge of the 3DS library is incredibly, incredibly minimal. So I don't think I have a lot to bring to this table or to the table here as far as the discussion goes. But if you want a few of the games that, like, I admittedly am probably going to go pick up an eShop gift card and log on to my 3DS and snag a few games just to be safe. If you're wondering what some games I think you need to buy if you're talking actual 3DS titles, Fire Emblem Awakening is the first Fire Emblem game and the first tactical RPG I ever played, and it made me fall in love with both the franchise and the genre. So I think Fire Emblem Awakening is fire, and it's one of the best Fire Emblems ever, and you should definitely buy it. The Legend of Zelda Link Between Worlds is a must-play in my opinion. That is a sequel to Link to the Past, and for my money, it's the best game on the 3DS. If by some chance you've not played Mario 3D Land, get on it. That game is fucking very, very good. I highly recommend it. And then, honestly, I'm trying to think. I'm like, those are like the only three. I mean, Mario Kart isn't bad. Smash isn't bad, but you don't need those. There's better versions of those out there. I haven't played a lot of 3DS outside of those games, to be honest. Donkey Kong Country Returns, I guess, is probably a good one because they ported that to the 3DS, I think. I played it on the Wii, but I think they ported it to the 3DS. And then as far as the Virtual Console, I'm not sold eventually these games don't end up on the Switch, but I would highly recommend if you're a Pokemon fan, get in there and buy the retro Pokemon titles. Just in case Nintendo and them decide to get cute and not make them available to us anywhere, buying a physical card of like a Pokemon Red or a Pokemon Gold is not a cheap adventure, and you can get all of them right now on your 3DS for under $100. And you've just got all the retro Pokemon titles sitting there waiting for you. So I would highly recommend grabbing those if you like Pokemon and then those other games. I'm sorry, outside of that, I just don't know much of the 3DS. I'm kind of useless. But I think I just named some good games. Oh, also, I would probably recommend grabbing Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask if you like those games. As much as I don't care for particularly Majora's Mask, those are probably considered by most to be the definitive way to play them. So I'd probably recommend downloading those as well. Good luck with your 3DS shopping, everybody. Salomon Freak 14 wrote in and said, hey, Adam, with Tears of the Kingdom coming out soon, I thought I would comment on this. First off, I very much dislike Breath of the Wild, although I do applaud the effort. The game didn't feel like a Zelda game. Having played and finished Elden Ring 7 times, no big deal. You fuck. That's crazy. I thought to myself, man, this is what Breath of the Wild should have been. Like dungeons and cool weapons minus the Souls-like difficulty. I miss uncovering new and unique weapons, not having them given to me at the beginning and just having good music or music at all. Hoping for your thoughts on the new game and your expectations. I love your show and you keep me entertained constantly. Well, thank you, Salomon Freak. You know what? Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence with Breath of the Wild. I didn't dislike it. I played it. I thought it was a fun game. I enjoyed it, but it's not in my top 5 Zeldas. I do feel the way a lot of the naysayers feel, where it didn't feel quite like a Zelda game. And so as far as I'm going to get Tears of the Kingdom day one. I'm going to play it. Yes, 100%. As far as Tears of the Kingdom goes, I guess I would also like to see them go back to having more dungeons with puzzles and stuff, like the bigger dungeons, as opposed to I don't mind if they want to maybe go to 50 of those mini hidden shrines with the little puzzles and stuff like that you find throughout the world. But I want more, the Divine Beasts in Breath of the Wild weren't good enough for me. I want the big puzzle-filled dungeons with the new items in them. I know it's the traditional formula. I don't care. I like the traditional formula. I would like to see them go back to that as well. More than that, though, if I could make one change from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom, I would get rid of the weapons that break so easily. I don't care if you want to make the weapons have a finite amount of durability, but for me to find a new sword and then be scared to use it because I know I'm going to get 10 hacks with it and then it's going to fucking break, that drove me up the goddamn wall. So I definitely get rid of that or change it. And, and I would make it so you could cook things in bulk instead of having to do them one at a time, because that was frustrating too. So I think that's probably where I would go. I'd like to see them go a little more traditional with it as well. But either way, I think it's going to be good. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to play it. I'm probably going to like it. So there you go. I hope that answers your question, Salomon Freak. Thank you for writing in, my friend. Super Dad Bros Podcast said, hey, Adam, just wanted to say thank you for doing what you do. We lost our German Shepherd, Mila, the other day after a routine procedure, and it was really difficult. And the show helped provide some much-needed comic relief, so thank you. On a lighter note, have you played the Resident Evil 4 demo that just dropped, and do you have any thoughts? Well, first of all, and I am not criticizing you for saying this, Super Dad Bros, because sometimes people write in and be like, it's my birthday, or, and stuff like that, and I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff, or people talking about stories with their kids, and I gotta read them. You all know, with all due respect to all of you, I like dogs more than any of you. I love dogs. So let me just say, on behalf of myself and Molly, my sincere condolences, and I'm sure Milo was a beautiful puppy, and I'm very sorry to hear about your loss, and I'm sure you did everything you could for her and gave her a good home. I'm assuming it's a her. Poor puppy. On the note of the Resident Evil 4 demo, a few people have asked me this. I actually have not played it. And listen, I am fucking stoked for Resident Evil 4 Remake. I love that franchise. I love that game. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I think Resident Evil 2 Remake is one of the best remakes ever, maybe the best remake ever. I cannot wait to play Resident Evil 4 Remake, but I don't play a lot of demos. The only time I play a demo is when I'm on the fence about buying a game and I want to get a free sample to see if I think it's worth my time. I have no doubt in my mind that Resident Evil 4 Remake is going to be worth my time. It's going to be a day one purchase. So I was rather than just get a bump and then have to wait, 2 weeks for another one, I'm just going to wait and play it when it comes out. So I haven't touched it, but I can't wait to play it. So there you go. And finally, before we move on, it's letter time. It's letter time. And for the first time in a long time, I don't have much to say in response to the letter time. I just felt obligated to give someone the floor. Because if you haven't listened to it yet, last week we talked about the Tiger Woods franchise. And in Play 1, Remake 1, Erase 1, we went with Madden, NHL, and FIFA. And a lot of people erased FIFA, and quite a few pot shots were taken at the sport of soccer/football, whatever you want to call it. And G9PSX wrote in to defend their sport of choice, and I've decided to just give them the floor. I feel soccer fans deserve this because we've been pretty hard on them over the last week. G9PSX wrote in and said, good day, Mr. Blank. I hope all is well with you. Your podcasts are the highlight of any week, and I hope they continue for many years to come. I would like an opportunity to address some of your listeners with regards to the Play 1, Remake 1, Erase 1 from last week. Listen here, you bunch of dim-witted wallopers. Erasing soccer because you don't understand the sport is about as ridiculous as adding warm yogurt to a hot dog, and quite frankly, is an act deserving of a firing squad. More so, the comments about it being too slow, excuse me, me? Slow? It's a 90-minute game with a 15-minute break in the middle. That's 105 minutes total, and it's done. NFL games are fucking PS1 era turn-based RPGs. 4 seconds of action with 5-minute breaks in between. You call it a 60-minute game. Why the hell does it take nearly 4 hours to complete? As for the NHL, you guys slide about on a frozen pond with knives on your feet and sticks to beat each other with. I don't understand it, but I got no beef with you guys. Keep up the good work. All the best from the town of Europe. Fair enough. I don't even have a response. I do think soccer is too slow and boring, but I felt we piled on last week. I heard about it from quite a few people, and I thought G9PSX wants to take one or to stand up on behalf of all the soccer fans listening and sound off, and I just wanted to give them the floor and allow them to do so. Thank you so much for all your submissions. As always, let's change things up and get to our Smash Hit segment, the official game show of Remember the Game Industries. It is Play 1, Remake 1, Erase 1. And a huge thank you to Classic Concentration from the NES for unknowingly providing us with the theme music for the show. The rules are simple. Every week, I give our listeners 3 retro video games. They can play one as it was released, remake one as a modern game, and the third is erased from time forever. And as always, there are no wrong answers, but there is a right one. We'll tell you what it is in just a minute. And this week, I wanted to go with PlayStation RPGs, of course. And it's very tough because you want 3 that'll all kind of loosely get put on the same level, you know? And I can't go like Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9 because 8's going to get decimated or anything like that. Plus 7's already been remade and blah, 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 blah. So I decided to go with 3 of the highest ranked JRPGs from the PS1 on Metacritic. We've got Final Fantasy Tactics, which I suppose you could argue is not a JRPG, but whatever. We have Suikoden 2 and Final Fantasy 9. And I know, this one got hairy. 36% said they would play Final Fantasy Tactics, remake Final Fantasy 9, and erase Suikoden 2. That is not what I would do. But let me see what a few of you had to say here, and then I'll tell you what the right answer was. Woo guy, 8286 said play Final Fantasy 9 all day, every day. That game is mint. Tactics could be better with a remake and erase Suikoden 2, because as I said when I saw this, Suiko what? Don't send your hate mail to me. Send it to fucking Woo Guy. Do not send it to me, all right? Venom1438 said, easy choice for me. Play Tactics is perfect as it is, and it's enjoyable today as it was when it was released. Remake Final Fantasy 9. In my opinion, it's the best entry in the franchise, and I would love to see this world given the Final Fantasy 7 remake treatment. I agree with that. Erase Suikoden simply because I was never able to get into any of the games from this franchise, and there's much better RPGs out there. Now, before you think that all the comments I'm about to read are erasing Suikoden, that is not the case. To say that there's much better RPGs out there, I don't even like... I'll explain my thoughts on Suikoden in a minute. I don't necessarily like Suikoden, and even I'm not sold there's a ton of RPGs better out there. I'm honestly not sure about that. But I like you played by the rules. I can respect that. Justified01 wrote in and said, hold up, people. Look at your best RPGs of all time lists on your Google machines. Suikoden 2 is one of the best RPGs of all time. Top 5. I have begged Adam to let me sponsor an episode on it, and he has declined, and I think he may have even insulted my hygiene afterwards. I probably did. As much as I love Final Fantasy IX, best Final Fantasy beside Final Fantasy Tactics, and Final Fantasy Tactics is also in that top tier list, Suikoden 2 shall never be deleted just because it's not as mainstream of game. Play Suikoden 2. Best narratives of any game I've ever played. Remake Tactics. This game is also top 10 best RPGs of all time. Delete Final Fantasy 9 because it's the only option left, and then feel the hole in your heart. This is like choosing which of your 3 dogs to put down because only 2 are allowed in your new apartment complex. That's a fucking extreme example, Justified. But for the record, Justified is not the only person that has tried to sponsor an episode about Suikoden. And I just want you all to know, in case you're wondering, it's probably never going to get an episode of Remember the Game because it did get sponsored at one point, and I played 5 or 6 hours. I see the greatness of Suikoden 2. I'm just being brutally honest. It's too smart for me. I don't like giant team management games, and I don't love RPGs, and I started to get deeper into it and was like, I'm going to end up hating this, not because it's bad, because I just don't like these types of games. But I see the brilliance of this game, and I just want to make sure I make that abundantly clear. I am not anti-Suikoden 2. It's just too rich for my very sensitive palate. I hope that makes sense. Shannon Willis wrote in and said, I've played and beat both Final Fantasies not too long after they released, so I'll play 9. Zidane is my favorite Final Fantasy protagonist. I'll remake Suikoden 2, and I'll erase Final Fantasy Tactics, because 1, y'all didn't even play Dio Field Chronicles. I didn't. And 2, Square Enix should remake Vagrant Story instead. That said, I love Final Fantasy Tactics, and I hope it comes back remastered in HD 2D, not in some strange 3D way, unless it's on the level of Fire Emblem. Dude, Final Fantasy Tactics and that Octopath art style. Oh, I would do some nasty things to get my hands on that, Shannon. I feel you. And Damian Torres said, first time voting. Interesting one here, too. I wasn't big on JRPGs growing up, and I've only warmed up to them in recent years. I love Final Fantasy VII Remake. It got me interested in the series. I ended up buying any Final Fantasy games that were available through some Square sale. I haven't had time to commit to them, though. Anyways, I'd play Suikoden 2. Always heard good things, just never played any of the series. I'll remake Final Fantasy IX. This is one of the Final Fantasy games I consistently hear is the series' best. I would love a 7-styled remake. As long as it retains the art style, it'd be amazing to see what could be done with today's tech. And unfortunately, I'd erase tactics. I've never been too big on tactical type of games. Although I have dabbled in recent years, I'd be willing to give it a shot, but I gotta abide by the rules, and this is the last one left. Thank you for playing by the rules. I understand all your logic. This was a tough one. I'm glad that it was so mixed, the reviews this week. I myself am going to go with 30% of you, including Blaine the Hoagie Man, who said I'd play Final Fantasy IX. It's perfect the way it is and should not be tampered with. I'll remake Final Fantasy Tactics. I've actually never played it before, but make it much better to look at, and I would definitely enjoy it too. And I'd erase Suikoden 2. It hasn't done anything wrong, but I'll be goddamned if I'm erasing the other two. I actually agree with almost all of that, Blaine. I myself will play Final Fantasy IX because I've only ever played through it once. I loved it. I still think it's the best Final Fantasy game. So it's fine as it is. And I'm going to remake Final Fantasy Tactics because I love it as well. I played it last year. Loved that game. I just want it on the fucking Switch. So I'd remake it and quality of life improvements, give it that Octopath art style, and just put it where everyone can play it. That game should be on everything. And then I'm going to erase Suikoden 2. As I explained, I have no beef with it at all. I think it appears brilliant. I just don't get it. I'm scared of it. All right? There you go. Thank you so much, everyone, for writing into play this week. Let me tell you what I've been playing, and then we'll get into all of the Legend of Dragoon talk in just a minute, because I need to pause for a drink of water and a quick word from potentially one of our sponsors. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows about our illustrious CEO, my dog Molly. But the other silent partner behind the scenes is my wife. And let me tell you, my friends, a 17-year relationship with another person that has to talk to and live with you is a lot harder to maintain than one with a dog. We've had our ups and downs, and as you all know, a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They can be a lot of work. You get out what you put in when it comes to relationships, and talking to a therapist can be a fantastic way to put in some work. They can help you work through your issues, learn to communicate better, and even just provide you with an ear to bend when you need it. I've talked to my therapist about my relationships, especially when it came to my stand-up comedy career and how much I was away from home, and they helped me work on ways to keep my relationship strong even when I was out on the road. It turned out our relationship was actually better when I was out on the road, but that's a story for another day. And I know, right? Therapy. Who has the time these days? BetterHelp hears you, and they're making it easy. Fill out a quick form online, and they'll match you up with a therapist that suits your needs, and that'll work around your schedule. You pick the meet times, and you can get your therapy fix from anywhere, over video, phone, or just chat. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit BetterHelp.com/rememberthegame today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. All right, what have I been playing over the last 7 days? Basically 3 games in rotation. I played a lot of them over this past week. I've been playing Banjo-Tooie. I'm almost done. That is going to be reviewed in the coming weeks here on Remember the Game. I do like it. Like, there's no question that I like it. I can't decide if I like it more than the original. I don't think I do, but I got to finish it to find out. I've also been playing Earthbound Beginnings, another fucking JRPG, because it won our next Patreon poll. The thing is, I love Earthbound, so I'm excited to finally see where Earthbound started. I've been enjoying it. And then out of nowhere, I bought Fire Emblem Engage, and I was ready to get started on it, but then I was high one night, and I didn't want to start Fire Emblem Engage and then be like, I don't remember what I'm supposed to do. So I ended up firing up Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order on my Steam Deck via Xbox Cloud Gaming. And I gotta say, I'm really enjoying it. I'm kind of hooked on it now. And now I know that Survivor is coming up, and I think I'm gonna play through Fallen Order. I try to balance a modern game with a couple retro games, and I'm really enjoying it. So I think I'm gonna play it so I can play Survivor. But that's it. That's what I've been playing. Let's talk Legend of Dragoon. I know that's why you're here. As always, I like to give some of you a chance to sound off before my guest tonight hogged the microphone, and we had a lot of comments this week. So let's rip through a few of them here. T. Tribuzio. I like that name. Wrote in and said, I have so many great memories of this with my friends. I'm playing through it now and still having the same amount of enjoyment that I did as a kid. I remember my friends and I trying to master the additions and trying to figure out why all the money ended in 6 until we realized my TV needed to have the tint adjusted to read G instead. Also, kudos to the terrible enemy names. Wounded Bear, Run Fast, and Assassin Cock for life. Well fucking said, T. I almost called you T-Bag. T. Trebuzio. I love that. I like that a lot. Also, the thinking that your gold always ended in 6 instead of G is money. It's a good email. Ryan Kinchin said 12 years. It took me 12 years to finish this game, and I loved every minute of it. I rented it as one of my first PS1 games and made it to the end of Disc 1, and Disc 2 was fucked, so my attempts ended there. Fast forward a couple years, and I found another copy, and Disc 2 worked. Disc 3 did not. I proceeded to do this stupid little dance with this game until the day the credits rolled. I still have my ugly gray little brick of a memory card with the initials LOD on it in green paint pen, so I always will know what it is. I respect your commitment to this game, Ryan. Fuck. I can't think of one game that took me 12 years to beat. I respect that. Justin Autry said this game is nostalgia incarnate, and transforming into a Dragoon, nailing the additions, and the overly complex story still get me warm and fuzziness inside. One of my greatest childhood accomplishments was finally nailing Gust of Wind Dance after hundreds of failed attempts. Also, whenever my cousin Kyle and I were kicked off the game and told to go outside, we would just go out and reenact the additions with sticks while shouting out the addition names. Good times. I fucking love that story because we used to do that kind of shit when we were kids too. And dude, Gust of Wind Dance is fucking impossible. I don't even know if I believe that you actually did it. It's impossible. Sergeant Pickle said, I absolutely adored this game as a kid. The addition system was so much more engaging as a mechanic than traditional turn-based JRPGs, and it kept me hooked. But boy, oh boy, fuck Albert's Gust of Wind Dance. It's impossible. See? Thank you, Sergeant Pickle. I agree. And I just want to say, not everybody wrote in just praising the shit out of this game. Timmy the Exuberant Turtle wrote in and said, I'm probably in the minority here, but I think this is a solidly mid-tier PS1 JRPG. Even though I'm a turtle who's known for its exuberance, I find the slow pace of the plot and battles to be tiring. I mean that literally because I remember falling asleep more than once while playing this game. Overall, it's just okay. If The Legend of Dragoon were a color, it would be beige. I don't totally disagree with that. If that comment upset you, you may not like this review. I'm a little bit nicer to it than that, but I'm a little harder at times as well. And it's time for you to hear what I had to say, because my buddy Keegs and I are going to talk about The Legend of Dragoon as soon as I remember to cue up some music and then let it stop for us to talk about this game that originally released back on the PS1 in North America on June 14th of the year 2000. Enjoy the podcast, everybody. Let's go. All right. Well, I don't even know how to feel about this. I don't know. You know what? Let's do the intro because I know I'm not going to get any shit for this. Joining me via the blank phone this week to talk The Legend of Dragoon for the PlayStation 1 is a good buddy of mine, one of our moderators over on Ye Old Remember the Game Discord, and that is my buddy Keegs. How are you, man?
I'm pretty good.
Good intro. I like that. Okay.
I think I'm better now than I will be at the end of this.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. So, I think I'll probably have talked about this during the infamous intro, but if by fluke I didn't, I'm sure I did. If by fluke I didn't, I want everyone out there to be warned of a couple of things, okay? Number one, we are going to spoil this game. So just know that the spoilers are coming, all right? It came out in 2000. I'm probably the last person to play it. We're going to fucking spoil it, all right? Number two, if you love this game, this is your fucking warning right now. If you are triggered or if you have PTSD about it or you're sensitive about people not liking your favorite games, maybe just skip this episode and go listen to one of the 239 previous episodes. Just don't listen to the Sonic Adventure 2 episode because I don't like that game either. Actually, and I want everyone to know this, okay? When I say I don't like this game, Keegs and I were just talking about this off the air. There is a not even a fine line, a distinct line between I think a game sucks and I think a game's fine. It's just not for me. People like lobster. Lots of people eat lobster. I don't like lobster. I don't think it's a bad food. I just don't like it. And that's what Legend of Dragoon is to me. I played like 30 hours of this game, and I don't think it's bad, but I don't like it. Is that a reasonable way to start this? I don't feel like I'm going to get any angry emails yet. That's fair, right?
You're gonna get an angry email from me right now. You don't like lobster? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Lobster is just, you know what? The only
You don't
reason
like
people,
eating bugs from the ocean?
yeah, the only reason people like lobster is because they like butter. That's what it is. Eat a
I don't
potato
know.
without butter on it. It's fucking disgusting.
I like potatoes without butter. What is wrong with you? You're worried
No,
about getting hate about the content of the episode. You've come in with 2 hot takes
I
about
don't care.
lobster and
Actually,
potatoes. You're
okay, I should
attacking
pull. Wait,
potatoes.
wait. All
The
right.
whole country of Ireland's gonna come after us.
Oh, we don't have any listeners there. They don't speak Canadian. Uh,
They'll
no.
hear the word potato and just
Yeah,
get
that's
mad.
all it'll be. To be fair, I actually do like potato. I'll eat like a plain slice of potato. I was just trying to come up with another food. I don't. It's not that I don't like lobster. I just think lobster is. I think lobster is the single most overrated food in the history of food.
I'd
I
say
just don't.
caviar is
I've never
probably
had
that.
caviar. I've never
Well,
had
it
caviar.
tastes like crunchy fish balls and is
I
very
do like.
salty
I
and
do love crunchy fish balls. Anyways,
and very expensive.
that'll do it for this week's episode of Expensive Food from the Sea that Adam and Keegs don't really like. Come back next week for no.
Hey, I like
Next week we'll be
lobster.
talking crab because I fucking
Hey,
hate crab.
I love
Anyway,
lobster. I love crab. All my
ugh,
family's from the East Coast. I love seafood.
blah. I don't hate seafood. I just don't like lobster. Anyways, let's talk to Legend of Dragoon, Keegs. This won our Patreon poll 2 months ago. I need a minute to collect my. I've been dreading this episode, like, because I just don't know what to say. So I'm gonna take a minute to collect my thoughts. Why were you so hot and horny, like a man with a potato, to cover this game when it won the poll? Why? What's your story? What's the history of Keegs and the Legend of Dragoon?
Well, cause I have spotty memory, I don't like remember exactly getting the game, but it's just like one of those games that we got. Cause I think it came out like the PS2 might have already just come out or is about to come out or something. Like this is one of the last games for the system, and we didn't upgrade systems right away ever. So it was just like, well, here's a game that came out. You guys like RPGs, and these guys look cool. Here's the game, and me and my brother just loved it. It was our one game that we got to play, so we just played the shit out of it. And I already loved RPGs, and it was another one of those games where I'm like, graphics are never gonna look better than this. This is
Yeah.
crazy. And now I'm playing the remastered one on the PS4, and just like you can see the faces on the polygons now. You couldn't
Yeah.
on the PS1 version. I'm just like, oh, that's certainly a face.
Yeah, yeah. I will. You know what? So, okay, first point that I'm going to listen. I hate the fact that we're going to sit here and compare it to Final Fantasy, but it's fucking impossible, right? Like, it's anybody listening to this that doesn't think this game drew inspiration from Final Fantasy VII is so full of crap. It's not even funny.
Well,
Like,
it's not
it's
just that. Like Sony said, like this is their Final Fantasy killer. Like
right.
this is a
Exactly.
first party RPG from the RPG guys that gave us the last 3 Final Fantasies. And they're like, this is our Final Fantasy killer. We don't need Square anymore.
Yeah. So like so comparisons are fair. I want to first point that I'm going to give the Legend of Dragoon. I don't remember. I think you mentioned you were like it just looked the case art was cool. I will say the case art to the Legend of Dragoon laps
Oh yeah.
Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9 Tactics. Probably I would sit here and argue that it might be the best looking case art of any RPG on the PS1. It looks spectacular.
I'd
It
give it
really
that.
does.
There's probably like some European versions of some games that had like cooler stuff than us, but
Sure.
yeah, I'd put Legend of Dragoon near the top.
It looks tight. And when it won my Patreon poll, I was like, all right. Like, I'm like, I like, so like one of my favorite RPG characters of all time is Kain from Final Fantasy IV, who is a Dragoon.
Mm.
And I usually like Dragoons. I'm a big fan of the jump move because it gives me a chance to avoid getting hit because I
Yeah.
play like a chicken shit. I'm like, all right. It's got great looking box art. I like Dragoons. This has potential. And
Mm.
it was weird because the first, and we're going to get into all the good and bad, but I was like, the first disc, I liked it. By the end of the first disc, I had gone from like, this is pretty cool to being like, this is okay. And then it was
Mm.
by the end of the second disc where I was like, I don't like this anymore. And I'll get into why. But I did like it started out with some promise.
Mm.
And we're getting into all that. I want to just say, even between me and you sitting here talking about it, you just mentioned how like you guys got this game when you were kids, or whatever, because you were like, well, it's a game that you can play. It's on the system we own, and dude, nostalgia is such a, I know it's a cliche, but it's such a powerful drug.
Hmm.
And bro, it is so difficult. I hate to say that my job is difficult ever, because my job is never hard. But if there's a time where it's hard, this is it. It's really difficult to go back to a 20-plus-year-old game in a genre you don't particularly like, that so many people have nostalgia out the ass for, and try to look at it in the same light in 2023 that people looked
Hmm.
at it in 2000. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, even with me, with having all this nostalgia, like going back and trying to play it again, like I can't sit down for really long sessions playing it. I'm just like, this game's fucking slow, man. Like I
Yes.
want to keep playing it, but fuck me, everything is so slow.
Yeah, you know what? Yes, and that's the first. You guys know how it goes. I usually like to get the poo-pooing out of the way, and then we'll get into the happy stuff. Let me just say, and this is literally addressed to every single person that's ever listened to my show. If you have ever written into me, tagged me in a tweet, commented somewhere, complained to your grandma about the length of the infamous intro on Remember the Game, but you like The Legend of Dragoon, you are a hypocritical piece of shit, because this might be the slowest video game I have ever played. And it's not the frame rate, it's the gameplay.
Hmm.
My God, Keegs, Jesus
Yeah, I
Christ.
love it, but it's a lot. I've noticed, especially going back, it's a lot more style over substance.
Yes, it is.
And like the one thing I actually know about the development process is that they spent most of their money and time on like the FMV sequences and just like making the game look cool and flashy. And so then I think they just kind of forgot that there has to be a good game in there.
Right.
Well, not that,
And
no, okay, not that, not there, because it's a good game in my opinion. But they just kind
sure,
of forgot that there has to be a game first,
agreed. Yeah.
not a
And
movie.
yeah, agreed. Yeah. And I will say, like, I want to make sure I make this clear. I don't think this is a bad game. I don't think it's the game for me, but it's not
Mm,
like, there have been games that I have played on this show. Everyone knows Echo the Dolphin, Mario's Missing, Virtual Bart, Shaq Fu, etc., that I just like genuinely don't think they're good.
yeah.
That's not at all the case with this game. I don't think it sucks. I just think that it does a lot. And like, you know what? Now that I already said that we're gonna do the poo pooing and then the good stuff, but like, I don't even think I can do that, because so much of it is the yin and the yang. And we should start. So you mentioned, let's just talk about the graphics for a minute, because you brought that up. I will say that, like, it's so, we can all look back on PS1 games now and laugh about how
Hmm.
everyone is, like when you're learning how to draw something and they say to draw the shapes and then draw around those shapes to make the whole thing.
Yep.
And a lot of PS1 games look like they stopped at the shape phase and then just colored in the shapes. But I will say that, like, I do think this is a pretty good looking game. I want to give it that.
Mhm.
It's, in particular, I want to say the backgrounds and
Oh
the
yeah.
environments look
That's
tight.
a lot of those PS1 RPGs that did the pre-rendered backgrounds.
Yeah.
Like the polygons look like dog shit. Like Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8, more so 8, because that's when they started texturing the polygons
Yeah.
like crazy. Like the characters look like shit, and then when they upscale them into these HD remasters, they look even worse. But
Mhm.
holy shit, those backgrounds, like they
Oh
went from
yeah.
good to perfection
Yeah.
with that.
Agreed. And in case anyone's wondering, I played this on my PS3. I bought it off the PSN, so I played the PS1 port that is on the PS3. So I don't think I'm playing any kind of upscaling or anything. And I was shocked. There's one town in particular, the town where there's like the castle with like the princess that is like an evil clone of the princess,
Oh
and there's like
yeah,
a, I can't
Castle
remember the name of it.
Fritz. I can't remember the
Yeah.
town name.
And there's like water running through the town and stuff.
Mm.
I was I was like, dude, that water can stack up against some water from like the PS3. I was like, this looks very, very good. I think the character models look cool. I think most of the enemies look cool. I like practically everything about this game graphically. With one exception. And that is the fucking goddamn drawn out animations. Which is,
Oh
and
yeah.
everything about this game that I like comes back to something about it being fucking slow. That's the
Mm.
problem. And like, Holy shit, bro. Like, we all think of Knights of the Round from Final Fantasy VII and about how you can, like, cast that twice with a copy and then just go and get yourself something to eat and come back in like 10 minutes. But like, you get into routine battles in this game and they look nice and that's awesome. But like a routine fight in this game that should take like 20 seconds can take upwards of like 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah, well, like
Like,
every random battle's got that long ass intro where they do like the cinematic camera shots. It's
oh,
like, yeah, this was cool the first few times, but like especially with how insane the encounter rate is, because it's literally broken. Like it's just like it gets too much. It's like,
it's just
do we have to do
so,
this every single time?
yeah. And
Like
that,
at least give us an option to toggle animations like they
yeah,
did for Dragoon. They did it for I think the Dragoon animations you can toggle to
yes.
short
which
and long,
Which I
but
wish
like not
I'd found
everything
out about.
else.
Yeah, I wish someone had told me that before 20 hours into the fucking game. Because my play clock probably would have been 15 hours had I known I could turn down the Dragoon animations. But I'll,
Yeah.
yeah. It really does look nice. It's just so fucking, it's just so. If we got anything else to say about the graphics before we get into it, because like the combat to me is the meat of the game, the combat and the story. But like
Yeah,
I just really like the graphics of it. That's
the
all.
graphics are some of the best on the system, I
Agreed.
think. Is
Yeah.
like obvious. I keep the polygons out of that, like on the overworld, but in the battles, like the polygons are for the characters are way better.
Yeah.
But like that was
And I
pretty common too. Like Final Fantasy 7 and 8 were the same. Like they
sure.
look like shit on the overworld, and then you had the good looking ones in battles. It's like
Yeah, but even to compare it to 7 and 8, because like to me 9 is different. Because 9, like, I mean, I'm a bias because I love Final Fantasy 9, but I also think it's just
mm,
stunning to look at,
yeah.
by especially by PS1 standards. But like even to compare it to its younger or older brother, I guess, in Final Fantasy 7. I've always thought the backgrounds and the pre-rendered backgrounds and stuff in Final Fantasy 7 look good. I think the ones in this game like lap it. Like I
Mm.
really can't say enough about how good I think this game looks.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, like it's I think for me it's because Final Fantasy VII's a lot darker and grittier.
yeah,
So it's like a lot of like blacks and browns and grays and stuff, but like
yeah,
Legend of Dragoon, like everywhere is colorful. Like the desert's gonna be brown, but like you said, that city with the twin castles, like it's like that is like gorgeous,
they look
bright,
sharp.
colorful. Like everywhere you go is like the cities feel alive.
Yeah. Yeah. They look nice. The problem is that when you leave the city, you have to go into the fights and the combat. And I gotta, dude, like, I'm so torn on where to start with this because there are aspects of the combat system in the Legend of Dragoon that I think are some of the coolest like some of the coolest shit I've ever seen in a JRPG. And then it again, like it got to the point where I was like, I went from loving it to fucking hate it. I'll ask you just straight up, do you like the combat system in this game?
I do, yeah.
Okay. If you've never played it, we're going to break it all down here, but it's classic JRPG. You have three characters. They're lined up on one side of the screen. The enemies are lined up on the other side. And then it doesn't have the little, like the little time bar showing you when it's going to be your next turn. It just tells you like, oh, now it's Dark's turn to attack. Now it's the enemy's turn. Now it's Rose's turn, whatever. Classic RPG stuff. But when it's your turn to attack, you can attack, you can use an item, you can defend, you can run away, or you can turn into a Dragoon. And obviously a majority of the time you're going to spend is attacking. And when I first started this game, you, among many other people, warned me that like if you play this on a screen or something with some lag or some input delay, you're fucked. And
Mm.
apparently that's a big problem with the playing it on like the PS5 now,
Uh,
where it just
I
got
I
re-released.
I can't speak for the PS5 version, but both me and my roommate have been playing it on our PS4s, and we've actually thought that it was better on those, like on our HD TVs on our PS4s. Like
Is that
I
right?
found the timing way better because I have it on my Vita as well, and I
Right.
was playing it a bit on my PS3 before,
Yeah.
and it's like I struggle with the timing so much on those, but like I'm barely missing any additions already. I'm not very far in my replay right now, but
Yeah.
I'm only missing a handful of additions playing it on my PS4 than
Okay.
I have in the past.
Like, and I will say, like, I've been playing it on my PS3, but my PS3 goes through a capture card to a 4K monitor.
Mm.
And I want to just make sure I make this like I've had no issues with the timing. When I was when I was playing Parappa the Rappa to get ready, the timing was all over the place. But this
Yeah.
one, I truly feel like 90% of the missed time button pushes have been on me. They haven't been due to the game or anything.
Mhm.
But so that's just something to say. But like if you've never played it, when you go to do an attack, basically I know that Shanna, is it
Shanna, yeah.
Shanna, she doesn't have it, but pretty well every other character have these like additions. And when you attack, it'll do one basic attack, and then there's a square on the screen with a bigger rotating square closing in on that one on the screen. And if you push X right as that larger square closes in on the smaller one, you'll land an additional attack. And as you get further into the game, these combos can go from 1 or 2 extra button pushes to like 5, 6, 7. And then sometimes it'll, instead of it being a blue square, it'll be an orange square. And when it's orange, instead of hitting the cross button, you have to hit the circle button and you'll counter the enemy instead of just landing. And at any time, if you miss, your combo just ends. You take whatever damage you landed and you go back to start. And like, so a lot of people were telling me it's like the Super Mario RPG timed hits, which is, I
Yeah.
adore that system.
Yeah, it's pretty close to that.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
just timed hits with a couple extra steps and some customizability to it.
Yeah. The one thing is I wish you could play defense with a timed defense too, like you can in Mario RPG.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
minor,
that'd be cool.
but
But I think that's because like defense is just broken.
yeah, it is.
A
And
lot of the defensive stuff is and like healing and everything, because it's all percentage based.
yeah.
It's a little more powerful than it should be.
Yeah, agreed. And so it's not a big deal. I thought it would have been neat. But when I
No.
first started playing the game, because I'm a huge fan of because that's one of my big problems with a lot of JRPGs is I get bored of all the standard fights. You know, because like, listen, I'm assuming that most people listening to this have played some classic JRPGs. You know what I'm talking about, Brian. 90% of the random encounters you have on the map, especially before like the end of the game, they load up and you can basically look at, unless your team is almost dead, right, going in, you can kind of like look at your phone and just mash like the select button and just,
Mhm.
just hit them until they're dead. And then that's that fight. And I liked that this gave me a reason to pay attention. And I love quick time events. I know I'm in the minority there. I love quick time events in games. So I was like, this is going to be sick. And then I found out quickly that like in the first few hours of the game, it basically just goes from like, oh, maybe you can kill an enemy in one attack instead of two. But like by the time you're getting up toward like the end of the second disc, particularly in the boss fights, it's like if you haven't figured out the timing of some of these
Mhm.
combos, you're pretty well fucked.
Yeah, well, it
Like,
does that to you near the start of the game too when you fight Kongol. Like if you mess up
oh
your
yeah,
additions at all, he counters you and fucks
yeah,
you up.
yeah.
Like
And it
without
like,
having that counter pop up when you're doing the addition, he just straight up like, you fuck up, he's gonna fuck you up.
yeah. And I'm honestly torn on that aspect. Like I have some qualms, but I'm not sure if this is one. At one point, I was kind of mad and I was like, dude, like so basically what you're saying is like, if you're not good at this timing shit, you can't play our game. Cause like,
Mhm.
I don't even know if you could beat this game without ever landing an addition. Like, I don't
Um,
know if that'd be possible
no, I don't think you can.
because it's not just that you do extra damage while you're hitting them with these combos, but every time you land an attack on an enemy, you gain some SP. And you need to gather enough SP to fill up your Dragoon meter so that we'll get into that later, but so you can turn into a Dragoon. So it's like, you're not only doing more damage. So like, dude, if you like, so just say you're playing his Dart and he has like a 5 attack combo. If you
Mhm.
don't hit any of the extra any of the extra attacks, maybe you'll do like 20 damage. If you hit all 5, maybe you do 140 damage.
Yeah.
And so like that's the
Usually, I think
difference.
the first attack is the strongest and gives the
Sure.
most SP just to help with that. But yeah,
Sure. But like just to
you
like,
have to
yeah.
get a hang of it.
Yeah, like to put it into perspective for anyone that by chance hasn't played it, like the end of a long combination, you literally might be hitting for 2, 3, 4 times the damage that you would hit if you just hit one and missed it. Not to mention all the SP you're gaining as well. Like it
Mhm.
is critical that you get
Yeah.
this shit figured out. And I don't dislike that because I like that they tried to do something different instead of just the standard press X, go through the motions, press
Yeah.
X, go through the motions. My main qualm with it, it's not the timing aspect of, although for some reason, dude, is it just me or fucking Albert and then whoever Albert becomes? What the fuck's that guy's name? Favitz?
Uh, Levitz is
Lavitz.
first, and then Albert.
Right, Lavitz to Albert.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. For the fucking life of me, I can't land a combo with that
Yeah,
guy.
it's what that is fuck you from the developers. They decided to make his animation speed slightly faster than Levitz's.
Oh fuck.
Nobody
Maybe
knows
that's
why. It just
but like I never got a hang of it. I was like, I could every other character in the game, like I would miss sometimes, but most of the time I could land them. For some reason with fucking Albert, I was like, this guy, you're literally just dead and you're dead weight to me because I
Yeah.
cannot figure out your combos. It
Yeah,
was making me crazy.
I bench him as soon as I get him. What I'm trying to do with my playthrough right now, because you have to max all the additions to get their final one, like get
Okay.
it up to 80 uses
Yeah.
and level 5. I'm
Right.
trying to grind out Gust of Wind Dance with Levitz before
Okay.
Albert, because I've only landed that attack twice in my entire life with Albert.
Yeah, I know, and it's so weird that like it's just hit. Like I understand that the timing is different, but you would think after a few rounds you would have like, okay, you're like, okay, whenever I attack with him, I need to do it faster. But for some
Mhm.
reason, it just I can switch like the addition. If you've never played it, when we say additions, that's what those combos are called. You can equip one addition, and then that'll be your combo that you're using at that time. Like I can give like say Rose a brand new addition, and within 2 or 3 turns of it, I've got it mostly figured out.
Mhm.
But then fucking Albert, I'm like, dude, like it just, I swear it's such a cliche thing, but I'm like, I swear to God, the controller doesn't work only when he's attacking. I
Yeah,
can't
that's
do it.
that's what it feels like. It's that slight speed difference because it's
Yeah,
just enough to fuck your timing up.
I hate him. He becomes the spoony bard of
Yeah.
Legend of Dragoon. I fucking hate that guy. Fucking
Yeah.
Edward. Anyways,
Yeah, Heschel
um,
is close with some of the difficulty on the speed, but even some of his fastest ones like Flurry of Sticks, I can nail. Just that
sorry,
gust of
who
wind dance is
Hashel?
fucked. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like after because after a couple of turns, you know it's coming, right? Like the
Mhm.
first time I equipped an edition where it was like it wasn't just like hit, hit, hit. The first time I equipped one where it was like hit, 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 hit. It threw me off a few times, but then you just get used to it, you know. But for
Yeah.
fucking some reason, fucking Albert.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that gust of wind dance, especially when there's a counter thrown in, because it seems to always come in where you have to do those two quick hits back to back.
Hmm.
And it's like, fuck me, like gets me every
Yeah.
time.
But like, and now this is the yin yang thing because I really do like this system. As someone that has a hard time staying focused while I'm playing a classic JRPG, I liked that this was like, oh, I have to pay attention so that I can land these combos. Because not only is it ending a battle faster, it's also filling up my SP, which lets me turn into a Dragoon. It's also
Mhm.
leveling up the addition, which you mentioned. As they level up, they get more powerful as you hit
Mhm.
them enough times and stuff. So it's like, it's giving me reasons to pay
And you're
attention.
leveling up your dragoons.
Yeah, there you
As you
go.
get SP, SP is also your dragoon experience, and
Yeah,
it's tracked invisibly because of course it is.
yeah, of course it is.
So you just
So like,
on your post battle screen, it just shows your XP, and then it just says D level. It's
yeah.
like, well, that seems like
So
a waste to put it there when it's only going to change 4 times through the course of the game, maybe.
yeah, no shit, eh? But it's like, all right, a little bit extra meat on the bone. I can. All right, like that doesn't offend me. But this
Mm,
is where I kind of like. So I like this system because it kept me dialed in. But then as I got further and further into the game, I found that like the fucking and I'm curious if you feel the same way as me. Like maybe my single biggest gripe with this entire game is that like the fights just take too long. And
mhm.
it's not just the boss, dude. Boss fights can go fucking forever.
Oh
But
yeah,
it's not just the boss fights. It's like I said, a regular encounter can take forever because these attacks take so long. And if you miss one, you gotta wait it out and wait it out. And I just and that was my problem was I was like, this is so fucking slow. And I
yeah.
just couldn't take it anymore. Is that I'm curious if you feel that way or not.
That's I'm not quite to the extent you are, but like I am feeling that drag already with
Right.
this replay. That like yeah, it's like holy fuck, everything's slow, and especially if a random encounter has access to magic. Like
Oh,
it seems like the AI just goes from like brain dead to as soon as they have magic, they're like, oh, I know exactly who to use this on, and I'm only going to use it on them.
yeah.
Like in the
Ah,
prisons, one of the prison guards can use the water spell, and every time, dart, dart, dart.
yeah.
Doesn't matter. Like Levitz is almost dead. He could probably kill him if he just targeted Levitz. I don't even need to bother to heal him because I know that guy's just gonna use that spell on Dart again.
Yeah. And it's and the difficulty thing like that doesn't because for years I have been saying that I wish Pokemon had a hard mode where
Mm.
the other trainers would try to play weakness versus weakness and stuff. So to
There
an
is, you just
extent,
got to get ROM hacks, but that's a
exactly.
whole other thing.
But like so to an extent I can live with it. My big problem was I was like it's just so long and like I hate I fucking hate random encounters. One of the reasons
Mhm.
Earthbound is my favorite RPG is the lack of random encounters. I love that I can see an enemy coming. And I like the fact that in this game, when you're walking around, you have that little arrow over your head and it basically counts down from like blue to yellow to red. And then once it's red, you're like, any second now, it's going to trigger a battle. And I did like that it would at least count it down for me and let me
Mhm.
know. But at the end of the day, there's still random encounters. They're just giving me a ballpark idea of when a random encounter is going to happen. But
Yeah,
like,
and that's also only in the maps. When you're on the overworld,
yes,
I don't think it does that.
no, it doesn't. On the overworld, it's just random. Yeah.
And then
But
there's some places where it's just always red because you're just always in danger.
yeah. And so like to me that's a I'll give it like a, it's they neutralize each other cuz I hate
Yeah.
random encounters, but it's nice to know they're coming. But like I
Yeah.
said, it's just I'm losing the interest in playing this cuz I'm like I fucking run into like a random fight and then that random fight takes like 5 minutes. And then like you said it's to me the problem with the magic wasn't that they have magic, it's when they can start putting fucking status ailments on you.
Oh yeah.
Because it just like I tweeted one time, I got a lot of love on Twitter too. I was like, confusion is the worst status ailment in
Oh
any
yeah.
RPG. But like this game, it just seems like you're getting stunned and fucking confused so often.
Mhm.
And it just feels like you get like a turn a minute with your characters. And then you got to waste it to unlock one of them from their status infliction. And then they're just going to inflict it again. And
Yeah,
it's,
like you really gotta use the accessories to block status ailments more than just like, oh, this is gonna make my guy stronger. Like,
yeah. And I got
but
something to say
also,
about that too,
yeah,
but we'll get
but
there.
also like the inventory, like you only get 32 items, so it's like you
Yeah.
have to have a shitload of body purifiers
Yeah.
to cover that, and then also healing items and stuff, and it's like constantly
That's
ditching stuff out of your
yeah.
inventory.
That's
But for
we're
some
we'll
godforsaken reason, you get 255 equipment slots.
I know. Trust me, we'll get to the fucking inventory because I have a
Yeah,
major beef with that too. That's my other big gripe. But I
yeah.
just okay, so I love the timed attacks, but I don't like how fucking slow every encounter is. And dude, there are like I hate boss fights generally, but like there are some boss fights in this game that feel like they go on for an hour. Like
Mhm.
they fucking go, and part of it is because these goddamn animations are so fucking long. Even the enemies
Yeah,
attack, like you mentioned when you fight, what's his name there, the big guy that joins you,
Congo, yeah.
Kongo. He has a couple of attacks where it's like they're like 30-second animations, and he's like a disc one boss.
Yeah, he
And I
comes
was
up and,
like,
like, grabs you and, like, spins you around and then throws you at
yeah.
the back and shit, and it's like, "Holy fuck, get
The
get to it already."
the first time it looks cool, but then like by the fourth time, you're like, fuck
Mhm.
me, like just pick me up, throw me, do your
Yeah.
dance, eat your
Yeah,
protein
the
bar,
battles
like
aren't long because 'cause they're hard, they're long because the animation, like, even
yeah,
random battles, it's like, yeah, they're not difficult. Like,
no.
yeah, you might get fucked up by some status effects or some magic, but, like, for the most part, they're not long because 'cause they're hard. They're
Yeah.
long because everything is fucking slow.
Oh god, it fucking made me crazy. And then the other thing about the combat in this, okay, so to not just sound like I'm poo-pooing on it, I don't know about you, but like I love the defend mechanic in this
Mhm.
game. If you've
Oh,
never
yeah,
played it,
fantastic.
yeah. Like if you've never played it, like in basically every RPG ever, you can just turn on defend and like, take away some of the damage they're gonna do to you. But in this game, when you do it, you also get, I think it's 10% of your total
10%,
HP
yeah.
back. And considering how difficult healing is in this game, it's kind of a
Mhm.
necessary evil, but I also think it's a very clever system.
Yeah.
Because there were battles where like I would use like Hashel, whatever his name is.
Hishel, yeah.
Hishel. He inflicts stun a lot. At least my build of
Mhm.
him was. And so I would stun if I was up against one enemy, I would stun them, and then I would just block with all three characters and like take a minute to get some health back.
Yeah. Yeah,
I love that
that's a pretty
system.
common thing that everybody does playing it is you get the enemies down to one enemy left and then
Yeah.
just defend for a few turns to get your health back. So
Yeah.
then you don't need to keep your inventory stock full of healing items.
Yeah.
You can have it saved for more status ailment recovery
Yeah,
or even
totally.
just magic items because
Yeah,
some magic items will just wrap up fights real quick. Like that Congo
totally.
fight, you hit
Yeah,
him with a couple like burnouts and shit at the start. I had him done in like 3 or 4 turns
right.
as opposed to the 12 that it would take just like smacking them with the swords over and over
Yeah.
again.
And to me, like that's the yin and the yang here because I really do like that defense system about how you get 10% of your health back. I really, really like that. But on the other side of it, like if you want to use magic, you like by the end of the game, basically your whole team can turn into Dragoons. And like we'll get into the story later because I don't even know how to fucking start unpacking that fucking thing. We'll get into that. But basically every character in the but at some point your characters pick up the ability to turn into Dragoons. And I was watching a YouTube video just trying to catch an explanation of this story to help it make more sense to me. And that person compared it to the Power Rangers morphing. And I thought, what a clever comparison that is. Because as you land these combos, you build up SP. As you build up SP, you fill up this meter that you can then use to turn into dragoons, pardon me. And then when you're a Dragoon, you can either drop a bigger attack or you can use your character's magic spells, but only when they're Dragoons. And as you level up your Dragoon level, you get more turns as a Dragoon. So it goes from like 1 turn to 2 turns to 3 turns to 4 turns. And I thought that was a cool concept, but I got to say, man, I get they were trying to get outside of the box here and do something different. I hate the fact that I have no magic unless I save up all this fucking SP and then turn into a Dragoon to be able to to use like a healing spell. Like if I want to use a fucking like a healing, just a classic healing spell, I need to grind and grind and grind until I have enough SP, and then I got to make sure I use it properly. And I know some people are going to come at me and be like, "That's one of the genius things about this combat system." I just have to say, I disagree. I think it's
Yes
stupid.
and no.
I hate it.
It's part of the balancing with the additions into it, because like some of your additions will give you more SP for
Yeah,
less damage, and
yeah,
some will do more damage for less SP. So I get what they were going for with it,
me
of
too.
trying to like balance everything.
Yeah,
I can see all the starts of everything going towards that balancing, but somewhere along the way, like they just kind of forgot to go the rest of the way with it.
yeah, dude. If you get into a tough fight against an enemy that can hit your whole team, like,
You're
unless you've got
fucked.
some of those, unless you've got some of those, and we'll get into it because I didn't finish it. Like, I did quit it eventually. I was like, I don't enjoy this, but I got
Mm,
stuck on one fight for a long time. And unless you've got a few of those items where you can get half of HP back for everyone on your team, sometimes it can be practically impossible to heal yourself because
yeah.
the only ways to heal are to either use defend where you're not attacking them and you're getting 10% of your HP back, to use an item, and like Keegs mentioned, you have a very finite amount of space for items, or to build up enough SP to turn into a Dragoon and then hope you still have enough magic points left to use a healing spell. And not every character has healing spells. And like to
Yeah.
me, I would have vastly, and yell at me and disagree with me if you want to, I would have much preferred if even a couple of characters had some basic healing magic or fucking something, and then make your Dragoon spells like your summons. Like
Yeah.
make that like your big healing spell or your big damage spell. I like using magic in RPGs, and this game has practically none. And I
Hmm.
didn't care for that. I thought the combat got too basic by them taking away the magic spells, especially
Yeah.
when they're pushing this element system where like you can see what element an enemy or a character is, and then if you can hit them with the opposite, you'll do more damage. I'm like, if you're
Your basic
implementing,
attacks do
I know,
base the elemental
I
stuff,
know that,
but
but
yeah.
but like I would still have preferred some form of a magic system. I
Hmm.
just thought it made the combat too. If you're not turning into a Dragoon or using an item, you're basically just doing those timed attacks. Like there's no, like you
Yeah.
can't cast like haste or shield or any. And I was like, you've dumbed it down too much at the expense, in my opinion, of going to that quick time attack system. That's
Hmm.
my opinion. I didn't care for it.
Yeah. They put too much into making the addition system really cool that they
Yeah,
kind of forgot to flesh out all the other parts of the battle system. Because yeah, like even with magic, it's like yeah, you can get additions that'll basically every time you attack, you get a full bar of SP,
yeah,
but like you still don't have that much MP. You can still only use a couple magic attacks before
yeah,
you're fresh out of MP, and like then that's either a bunch of items that you have to keep saved up to restore your MP or go back and heal somewhere. So it's like
yeah.
you don't even get to use it during regular battles. You want to save it for bosses.
Yeah, I ended up
And
at
then
one
on the
point.
flip of that, like there's quite a few bosses in the game that'll punish you for being a Dragoon.
Yeah, because when you are
And
a
it's like, oh,
Dragoon,
okay, fuck me, I guess.
yeah, because once you turn into a Dragoon, you don't have the option to opt out of it until all of the, like, if you're Dragoon level 4, you get 4 turns as a Dragoon. You can't switch out of it for those 4 turns. And while you're in Dragoon form, all you can do is attack or use one of your spells. So you
Hmm.
can't block, you can't use a healing item or anything like that. So so you, like, when all of your characters' Dragoon spells are full, you get to use that cool yin yang thing where they all turn into Dragoons. And on
Mm,
paper, I'm like, wow, that's fucking awesome. Until you
yeah.
realize if one of your Dragoons doesn't have a healing spell and then you transform into 3 Dragoons, you're fucking done.
Yeah.
It's just, I hate it. The combat system started out as so much fun, and by the end, it just lost me. I just hated
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's really cool for a disc and a half, and then it's just kind of like you've seen everything that the combat system has to give you, and it
Yeah.
has nowhere else to evolve from there. So then it's just another 20 hours of what you've already done.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
keep scaling up through the rest of the game. It's
Yeah.
just, yep, here it is now. Rinse and
Totally.
repeat.
Yeah, totally. I have a lot more to say about this, but I didn't realize we're already 37 minutes into this fucking chat. So
Yeah.
I need a drink of water, and I need to pay. What do I say? I got to keep the bills on around here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take a really quick pause, everybody, for a quick word from one of our sponsors. Okay, you were talking about the inventory system, Keegs, and I want to get into
Fuck.
that too. Everyone knows how much I love Earthbound. I love that
Mhm.
game. But if there's a point I will concede, it is that it has one of the worst inventory systems in the
Yep.
history of video games.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Earthbound,
Legend of
Dragon Quest, and Legend Dragoon, all
Yeah,
shitty inventories.
yeah. I don't know if Legend of Dragoons is worse than Earthbound's, but it sure as fuck isn't better. Like
Yeah,
it is
it's close
you have
because
go ahead.
yeah,
I'm so
yeah, because
mad about it by all
you only
means.
have the one inventory, but
Yes.
it's small, so you don't have to manage, your whole party's individual inventories like you do in Earthbound or Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
But yeah, like fuck me, it fills up quick. Like
You
I've barely touched the game. I'm already constantly full on my
constantly.
inventory. I'm just like, what
Constant.
the fuck? I'm like, how am I at 32 already?
Yeah. If you've never
It's
played
like,
it, you have 32 item slots. And the problem is that, like, because again, it is very difficult to heal. You need
yeah.
to carry some healing potions.
Oh yeah,
You,
I always
you
keep at least 8 to 10 healing potions, and that's usually split between just like the single target ones and the party ones,
Same
and
here. Yeah.
then about the same amount of body purifiers and mind purifiers.
Yeah. To get
And
rid
so
of,
it's like, okay, cool. So there's 2/3 of my inventory taken up on just making sure I'm not gonna die,
yeah.
and
And
then you
then,
got a few more spots for like some attack items and picking stuff up.
and don't forget, I don't know, so yeah, there's only 2 healing potions in the game, as far as I know. And one will give 50% of an individual character's HP. One gives
Mhm.
50% of all your character's HP. One thing I did learn toward the end of my playthrough was if you use the give everyone their HP back outside of battle, it works on everyone
Mhm.
instead of just the 3 in your team. I didn't realize that till near the end of the game. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh wow, I should have done this. This is way more
Yeah. I
efficient.
don't really cycle my team out though, so
No, I stopped too, and
yeah.
we'll get to there because there's a lot of dead weight in this fucking game.
Oh
But
yeah.
like, you only have 32 item slots, and no one can really heal. So like Keeg said, you got to use a nice chunk of your inventory for healing items, but then you also need some status ailment removers. And thank fuck that at least they just split them into mind and body purifying, as opposed to like an antidote cures potion and
Oh
eye
god.
drops cure blindness. Like at least it's just
Holy shit, could
2.
you imagine?
No, it would ruin the game. You have to keep it to those 2. But then I don't know about you, like I always keep 4 or 5 angels' prayers on me to bring people back from the dead. And then it's like, but it also tries to push you on using this element system, and you can get all these items that'll use these elements. But I'm like, well, I've already used 25 slots for healing items. So now what the fuck do I do? And then, like you said, yeah, you're halfway through the first disc and you're finding treasure chests and being told your inventory's full. And I
Oh,
was like, in
halfway?
what?
I wouldn't I'm not that far.
How in the holy fuck are you letting us carry 250 pieces of equipment, but 30 items? And
Yeah.
at least, and this is one of the things it does over Earthbound, at least it doesn't make your key items take up item inventory slots, but
Mm,
it's still just, that is so not even close to enough inventory slots. It's
yeah.
ridiculous. It is
Like
an
I
awful
get they
system.
want you to manage your inventory. That's part of the strategy of the game cuz battles aren't, that hard themselves, but like
Sure.
32 is not enough.
No, dude.
Not when you're like even when you're near the start and only have 3 or 4 party members, it's not enough. Once you're up
No.
to 7, like no.
It's
That's not enough
obnoxious.
to manage a party of 7 characters.
What they should, in my opinion, like it's, and it's easy to say hindsight's 2020, but I feel like even playtesting this would have been something to say. I don't care if you don't want to give me like I'm fine with having to manage my inventory and not, as opposed to the Final Fantasy system of like You have some magical backpack that can carry 1,000,000,000,000 of everything. Like, I'm fine with having to manage it, but like as I add new party members, give me another 10 inventory slots.
Oh, that'd be all right.
You know,
That'd be
just
an easy way to fix it. Just
right.
yeah.
Like you add that giant fucking Kongol steroid monkey to your team. That guy alone should be able to carry 40 items.
I mean, that'd be all he's good at because he's not good at anything else.
No, he's not. No, he's not. So I
And
yeah.
I don't care who that pisses off. Come at me. You know
No,
where to
no,
find
it's
me online and in the Discord. If you like Kongol, you're wrong, and
I will
I'll
say
be
I
here waiting
like
for it.
him because I always love it when a bad guy like joins the good guys. Like I
Yeah.
like that, but he is useless.
But as a character in battle, he's useless,
Oh,
especially because
he's
the game traps you when you get him, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you got Kongol now. Take him to go fight Linus. That'd be cool to use the bad guy," and it's a trap
yeah.
because
No,
Linus will
yeah.
fuck you the absolute fuck up with him because he's got horrible speed and horrible magic defense. She gets like 5 turns before you get one, anyways,
Yeah, she
and
does.
then he's dead before you know it.
So
And now
let's
it's two
okay.
versus one.
So let's get into the characters. I want to save this story for last because I think this is going to be a fucking
Oh, I wrote
Whew.
down some one thing from the story recap that I watched that I wanna read out to everybody when we get to the story.
Yeah, I got some shit. I'm gonna unload on that fucking but we'll get there. So the characters, I will like so every character like I'm saying this very loosely, okay? Loosely the characters play to elements.
Mhm.
So like you can play to the elemental weaknesses of enemies like that, and blah 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 blah. But even that, what frustrates me is like Dart. I believe Dart's like fire, and
Yeah,
so he does fire damage, but he's weak to water damage.
yeah,
But
but you're
like
also stuck with him through the whole game.
exactly, and like
He's good, which is good. Like, I hate when you get stuck with a main character that's not
yeah,
super well rounded, but
agreed,
like,
agreed. But like if you're gonna play this like Pokemon esque, characters have elements they're strong and weak against. Let me
mhm,
rotate people in and out because it's so crap when I get up against someone that's strong against fire and I'm stuck with a guy that's weak against, or, that's weak against whatever you know what I'm saying? Like that drives
yeah,
me up the fucking wall. I do like Dart though. As far as protagonists go, there's worse. Looking
yeah.
at you, Squall, you fucking useless piece of shit. Dart is pretty cool. I will say though, dude, like of the whole batch of characters, and we're not talking about how effective they are in combat, just as characters, the only character outside of Dart that I find remotely interesting is Rose.
Mm.
I love Rose. Rose has a little bit of anti-hero to her. She's
Yeah,
got just
Rose
she's
is
just
cool. I like Hashel too. Hashel's really
I
cool.
like Hishel. I thought, yeah. Minus the whole thing about like I don't remember
Indian
what the
Prairie
name
Old
was, but
Man.
Dart's like, oh, that was my mom's name, and Hishel's like, oh, that was my daughter's name. And
And then
like
it's never addressed again until the
no.
very end of the game.
Yeah, and then it's like Dart's like singing a song, and Hichel's like, "Oh, my daughter used to sing that," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Come the fuck on, get
They
the
do
fuck out of
address
here!"
it at the very end of the game.
Oh fuck!
Then it's like, oh shit,
But
Dart's mom is Hashel's daughter. He's his
yes,
grandpa.
yes, fucking Jesus Christ! But
Like,
that
I
said,
was
though,
like
like,
9 when I played this and I figured it out right away.
yeah, exactly. I was like, "Come on now." But I do like Dart. I like Rose. Hichel's fine. I actually like the way all three of them fight too. Like,
Mm.
I very rarely did Rose leave my party. Not only because I liked what she did with her attacks, but she has, I can't remember what it was called, but I think one of her first Dragoon spells, she'll attack
Astral
the enemy.
Drain.
Yeah, she'll attack the enemy and then split the HP amongst your team.
Yeah.
And
Fun
it's
fact
so
about that
valuable.
one, it's that move got censored in the North American version. It's supposed to be blood that comes out of her, and they're like, "Oh, that's too graphic for those Americans.
Oh,
Let's make
really?
it weird black goo instead."
Well, that's just, I was just talking to someone the other day about the Mortal Kombat ports on the SNES and how they changed the blood into sweat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you can
no,
still
this one they
decapitate
went black
somebody.
goo.
I love
Yeah.
it. But no,
Black goo instead of period blood.
I liked Rose. She was cool. And then like Shanna, however you want to say it, she she's
Useless.
handy. She's handy as like a white mage in the early going.
Yeah,
Like once she
but
becomes a
like I
dragoon and she
said,
can heal.
defense is perfectly fine for that, and that's all she can do.
And that's
And
yeah,
the bows suck.
that's the
Like, it's like
problem is
what,
that
25 SP per attack with the bow?
yeah, her attack is useless and she can only heal you in like the 2 turns she could turn into a dragoon until she runs out of MP.
Yeah, like good luck maxing her Dragoon level.
Yeah, and not even and we're not even started about the whole. We'll get into the story, but the relationship between her and Dart drives me up the
Yeah,
fucking
it's
wall.
fucking weird.
So I didn't like Albert because his timing sucks.
And Levitz was cool.
Lavitz. So yeah, if you've never played it, I guess spoilers. Do you
Yeah.
play as this dude named Lavitz who's awesome, and then he dies, and then they just give all his abilities to Albert, and Albert's like, "I'll play," and it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
They do that quite often throughout the game. It is somebody will die, and then the Dragoon Spirit's like, "Oh, I'll pick this guy. They're wearing the same colors that I am."
yeah, that's exactly
And that
just like the
happens
Power
like what,
Rangers.
4 or 5 times throughout the game? Like I
Yeah,
think it's like Levitz first. Oh fuck. Yeah, no, it happens because Levitz gets it from the one king, and
yeah,
then he
he
gives his
dies.
to Albert,
Yeah,
and then Emperor Dole gives his to Hishel. Like everybody, it's just like you kill them, and then the Dragoon Spirit just like happens to decide that they're gonna your party member is good enough to be the
yeah,
next Dragoon.
yeah. I love it because they're wearing purple or green or
Yeah.
red or whatever the fuck it is.
After all the talk Rose gives you about, the dragons and having to choose the right people for it, it's just like, you're
Yeah,
green, you're the
yeah.
green dragoon now.
Yeah, I love that too. I love that too.
Yeah.
That they're like, all
It's
right, you
like
can
so
have it now.
perfectly like 90s anime corniness.
It is, but you
It's
know
like
what? Of
anime
all the
and
things,
Power Rangers.
yeah, but of all the things it does, that's not the worst. It is
Oh yeah.
funny, but it's
Yeah,
not
that's
the
just
worst.
hilarious.
Yeah. I could give a half a fuck about Miru, the dancer. I thought she was annoying, and
I love
I
her.
hated her.
She's straight up the best character in the game, like battle wise. She
Ugh.
gets a little bit of healing. She's fast as shit, and once her additions are maxed out, she will just ruin everybody. Like Congo wishes he could put out the damage she can.
But she's so annoying,
Yep,
Keegs.
but
Ah.
she's a machine.
And then you mentioned Kongo. It's funny because Kongo is this like giant jacked guy who you fight in the early going, and then later he joins you. And I love that. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, but like, obviously Super Mario RPG, you get to play as Bowser. Chrono Trigger, there's a character that could join you
Is
that,
that what you didn't want to spoil? Bowser joining your party
no,
in
no,
Mario
it was the
RPG?
Chrono Trigger. It was the Chrono Trigger
Oh,
guy. So,
you can
but
spoil the Chrono Trigger one.
I'm not going to. I did it on the episode. But I like it when bad guys join you. And when Kongo
Yeah.
first joined me, I was like, I gotta use this guy because he has so much HP. He's this jacked guy. And I was thinking, oh, this is my Auron from Final Fantasy X. He's
Yeah.
slow, but when he gets a chance, he's gonna fuck some shit up. And I will say, especially when you first get him, when he lands an attack, he does some damage. But slow isn't even the word to describe him. He gets like an
Yeah.
attack per battle. It's
Yeah.
fucking awful.
It's just part of that balancing that they didn't quite finish, right?
Ah,
Speed is so important in this game, and there's
ah.
the only way to get him more is you can give him like the bandit ring and that'll make
Yeah.
him faster, but it's like why get him up to the level of everybody else when you can just give somebody else that ring and then take them further
Yeah.
up where he could never
Oh
get
my
to.
god. Dude, you're in a fight where you're getting just stomped. And it's like, so just argument's sake, your team is Dart, Rose, and Kongo, let's just say. And like,
Mhm.
and Dart and Rose are fighting hard and defending and attacking and transforming and doing their thing. And Kongo is just standing there and it's like, anytime, man. Hey, whenever you're ready, we could
Yeah.
really use a fight. And then, oh my god, when you finally get a turn to attack his Kongo and then you miss your fucking addition, I was like, I'm done with you, sir. You and Albert can go pick roses.
Yeah.
Get
Well,
the
the worst
fuck off
is
my
like how
team.
fast he is when you fight him. Every time you fight him, he's fast as
Oh,
shit and
it
he's
hits you every
fucking
3
you up, and then you
seconds.
get him, and then he's just useless, and you're like,
Fuck him.
what the fuck happened?
And then the last, and then Hashel, whatever. He's cool. I liked him. That was the team I rolled the most was Dart, Rose, and Hashel.
Yeah.
And then I never got as far as to get the last character, Miranda or whatever. I never got that.
She just swaps Shanna out. You
Oh,
basically
okay.
in the story they're like, Shanna can't fight anymore because of story shit. So the
And because she's
dragon
useless.
spirit actually leaves Shanna and goes to Miranda. It's like the only
Okay.
time one transfers without somebody dying.
Okay, I dig it. So then who's your? So you must use Dart. You said you like that Miru, and then who's
Miru
your
and
third? Rose,
Hishel usually.
Hashel. Yeah.
Hishel and Rose, I swap them out depending on like when I need them. Like if I want Hishel's stun, but like like I said, Miru's an all rounder. She's got healing, she's got damage. So I didn't use her much like back in the day when I played. It was Rose because I was 9 and I was like, oh man, hot chick with sword.
I just like Rose. Rose reminded me of Raphael. Like every cutscene, every time you're all standing around, like talking about what you're gonna do next, Rose is always the one that's like off in the like kind of by herself, leaning against the wall, making sarcastic comments. And it's funny
Mhm.
because I think Raph is a cancer to the team. Even though I love all four turtles, like Raph is the jerk of the team.
Yeah.
But in this
Well,
game,
Rose is definitely that.
yeah, but I loved her. I thought she was the coolest
Yeah.
character in the. Frankly, and again, there's one other place I want to stop before we get to story. I don't know if there's anywhere else you want to go, but I will just say of their personalities, by far, I found Rose to be the most interesting.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, the only other thing I want to talk about besides story is the music because it
that's
absolutely
yes,
fucking slaps.
100%, and that was where I wanted to go next too. If we were just scoring the game's music, I would give it a
10.
Super Mario World 10 out of 10.
Yeah, 10
The
out of 10.
music is
Music
so good.
slaps. It goes way
Ah,
harder than it needs to.
it's incredible. Like even the menu music is
Yeah.
fire. Like the music everywhere is fucking awesome. Like it's like I like some rap music and there's like some rock in there and some beats
Yeah.
and it's like the boss fight music is insane. Yeah, 10
Yeah,
out of
like
10.
the music everywhere, like every city and dungeon and everything, like the music just like elevates it. Like it already like the scenes already look gorgeous. So
Yeah.
you're already like invested and you're like, yeah, I'm here. I can tell. Like you're in the marshlands, you see like steam coming up from like the water and shit, and then that music just takes you that next level
Yeah.
of just like in the game.
Yeah, it's fire. It like I've said many a time I probably consider Mega Man X my favorite soundtrack of all time.
Hmm.
There's lots of other ones. That's just the one that always stands out to me. But like I would definitively put this game on the list of my favorite video game soundtracks of all time. If
Oh yeah.
anything, at least while I was getting mad at how fucking slow the goddamn game was, at least I was listening to the music. And what's really wild, dude, is that a lot of these classic RP like I used to play Final Fantasy 7 like crazy in high school, and I would turn the music off and just listen to like a CD or whatever. Like I usually
Hmm.
listen to other stuff while I play old RPGs, and in this one, I rarely wanted to listen to the music. It was that good.
Yeah.
Like even if it's repetitive, it's that good.
Who
I didn't
even
want to
did the
cycle out.
music?
So it's funny that was what you had left because that's where I wanted to go as well. I thought the music was just fire. Um, and that leaves
Yeah, the
that
guy
leaves
that
this
did the
story.
music too, he didn't really do a whole lot of anything else.
Who?
The guy that wrote the music for Legend of
Oh,
Dragoon, his name was Takeo Muratsu. He passed away in 2006, but yeah, he doesn't have a huge line of just stuff he did, just this one. He's like half of a duo that did songs for Beatmania, but otherwise he just like
well,
this
he
is like the
should.
only thing notable that I see.
He he
Jumping Flash, I didn't play that.
he should have a catalog because
But
he
yeah.
can fucking go, man. My God, I was blown away. One of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in a retro
Mm.
game. It was in any game. It was fucking outstanding. All right, let's fucking try to unpack this story before we wrap this thing up. Go ahead. What do you
Oh,
think?
the story is easy to unpack. Like
Now, hang on. Before you say that,
it's a very
I
simple,
I
straightforward
I
story, Adam.
wait a minute because I've had people tell me they're like, "Well, you got to finish the game to see the story." And I'm gonna say,
Yeah.
if you're into the story, that's cool. I get it. I personally, the game started out interesting, and then like Keeks and I were talking about it off the air. Like by the time I was done, I'm like, so are we trying to become Dragoons? Are we trying to catch the Black Monster? Are we trying to catch Lloyd? Are we trying to find these moon items? Are we trying to find the wingies or whatever the fuck they're called? I'm like, what
Winglies.
on earth is it you want me to
Yeah.
do? And I
The
have no fucking
107th race of the world, the Winglies. It's
oh.
simple.
Go ahead. Explain Keegs. I've never played The Legend of Dragoon. Explain this story to me.
How long do we got for this? Because
Yeah,
it might
yeah.
take a while.
I know.
I've played almost every Final Fantasy game. I've played almost every game from like the Tales of series. And those Tales games, they have some convoluted ass stories. This one takes the fucking cake. I've only played through to completion once because anytime I've ever tried, I always get lost in the fourth disc. So I watched a recap last night, and what the actual fuck
Dude,
happens in this story? It is
it's
insane.
it's
Like
like
it's pretty tame up until about where you quit,
yeah.
and then it goes off the rails of just MacGuffins and like this thing is affecting this thing, and then the god created this, and like all this crazy shit. Like it goes off the rails.
Yeah, I will say like because I know this is where some people are gonna write in and be like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah," and tell me that I'm wrong, and it's fine. I get it. It's fine. It's go ahead if you want to. I
Make
guess.
sure whoever's gonna do that, make sure you CC me on that as well, because I will
I,
also be wrong.
I will say that like okay, so I like that the dragoons were these like mystical warriors or whatever you want to call them with these
Mm.
powers, and I like that they were fighting with the winglies, and I like even the idea that eventually you find out that they're like uh what's the term, like generations of people, like the 106th 107th species or whatever.
Yeah, like the god create is prophesized to create 108 different species, and
Yes.
then once the 108th comes down, it's gonna destroy the world
Yeah.
and regenerate it, and
Sure.
that's Viraj, the god of destruction.
Sure. And I actually don't hate that concept. And I like the
Mm.
idea that dragoons and winglies were previous species or generations or eras or whatever
Mm.
you will, like 105 and 106 or whatever the numbers are, doesn't matter. I like that concept. But like, bro, I got a little bit into disc 3 on this game and just then started to find this shit out. It was
Yeah.
like it was like the first half of the game, Dart is after this black monster that destroyed his village. You're finding these dragoon abilities and you're finding they're like mystical things and all that. And then it's like about halfway
Yeah.
through they were like, it's like they were writing it and then halfway through we're like, this story's not good enough. Let's add in some. It was Spider-Man 3 and it was like it would have
Mhm.
been fine if it had just been Peter Parker versus the Sandman. And then they were like, well, let's throw in the new Goblin just to make it a little bit spicier. And then they were like, well, the higher ups want Venom in. So let's halfway through the movie, let's squeeze him in there as well. And by the end, you're like, who am I after anymore? Like, what is, and admittedly, maybe parts of it get lost in translation. I know that's an issue with these
Mm.
old games. And the translation is not perfect. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
But
It's very 90s.
I just and admittedly, maybe part of the problem is that I was getting bored, so I wasn't paying as much attention. But it makes me feel. I went online to Google it. I'm like, am I the only one that finds this story confusing? And it
No.
seems to be very split. Some people love this story, and some people are like, no fucking clue what's going on.
It's a cool story, but yeah, even if you're paying attention, you have to kind of keep notes onto what everything is and how it relates to other things, because a lot of stuff just is named things for the sake of having a cool wacky name.
Yeah,
Like, so it's just it's hard to follow even if you're paying attention, and if you take any breaks and start forgetting some of the stuff, like you just get beyond lost because the stories gets just so convoluted and there's
yeah,
so many moving parts. Like you were asking, you're like, what's the purpose of the story? It's all of those things all together at once,
agreed.
and they all have to come together into save the world.
And then it turns
Like
out that the
it's
bad guy, Emperor Diaz. Okay,
yeah, Emperor
Quick
Diaz.
side note. Quick side note. If you've never seen it, look it up. There's a classic video of baseball fans heckling a player whose last name is Diaz, and they're like, "Hey, Diaz!" And I cannot, for the life of me, say the word Diaz without saying Diaz. So if any of you are going to yell at me for saying it wrong, in this instance, I have a reason. Some of my friends that are listening to this have seen that video. It's fucking, hey, Diaz, your friends don't
Emperor
even like you.
Diaz.
Oh my God. So anyway, it turns out at the end of the game, the bad guy, Emperor Diaz, is some other guy named Zeeg. And it turns out Zeeg is Dart's dad. And it was
Yes.
like, why
And
is that?
Rose's fiance.
Yeah, and Rose's fiance. And it was
Yes,
like,
and they're both 12,000 years old and are two of the original dragoons from the
like,
Dragon War.
fuck right off.
And because
Oh,
they're
fuck off.
I don't know how he survived. I can't remember how he survived all that time, because she did, because she's got the dragoon spirit, but he doesn't have it anymore.
Well, he was, yeah, I don't fucking know. I
Oh
don't
no,
know.
maybe that's it. Is he had it up until Neat got destroyed, and then Dart had it. So I guess that's why like Zeeg is older looking now. I don't
know.
fucking know, man.
And
It's
then
fucked.
Shanna has like the sun in her. Like she
No,
can
she's
just,
got the moon. Hey, this
yeah,
is the
the
perfect
moon,
time for
right.
me to tell my little blurb that I
By
wrote
all
down from
means.
the story recap.
By
It's
all
like,
means.
so the moon child, that's Shanna, she's actually the soul of the god of destruction, possessing someone so it can go to the moon, be born with its true body, and then destroy the world and regenerate it. Makes perfect sense, right?
I feel like if they had stuck to like, if they had cut this story in half, it would have been fine. But you know what this, in my opinion, this story comes across like they had a room of 3 or 4 writers who all had ideas, and whoever was the producer of this game didn't have the heart to tell any of them no. So he was like, let's put them all in. Like, we'll
I
make it
mean,
work with all of them.
3 or 4 writers sounds about right. Like even AAA games now don't have huge writing teams. God of
They-
War and Ragnarok was written by 9 people.
That's what, but I like, and that's like, it just feels like it was
Yeah,
just
like it's
3 or 4 ideas squished into what it's like a
Mhm.
fucking gumbo of fucking plot lines.
Yeah.
There's just
I
everything.
think the story ties into like them fucking up their development process and dumping all the money into those FMVs that apparently Sony didn't even want to do, and the development team fought for it. And then that wasted all their budget and time. And then they're just like, shit, we're only halfway through the story. We gotta add some more shit in here and pad it out.
Yeah, and like even those FMVs, like I'm not. It is very easy to see one of them for the first time in 2023 and be like, "Pfft, okay, but like
Yeah.
they're not bad. Frankly, I think they're kind of neat. I don't think they're that bad. I like that this game doesn't have. Remember, like in Final Fantasy VII, and some of the cutscenes they look awesome, and then some they're the Lego people. Like
Yeah.
all the cutscenes in this game look good, and the FMVs were neat. They were
Mhm.
voice acted kind of cheesy, but
Oh
I
yeah, the
love
direction for the voice acting is atrocious, but that's
ah
part of the charm.
exactly. I'm very pro cheesy
Yeah.
voice acting, but it just yeah, like if I know it's like the most dumbed down stupid example ever, but a lot of the time when I talk about the development of video games, I always talk about like they had a pie and they put 50% of the pie into graphics and that left, 50% for music, story, combat system,
Yeah.
everything else. And it really does feel like a lot of it went into trying to make this game look as big and flashy as
Yeah,
possible at
they
the
put
expense
more
of some
80% towards that pie for
yeah.
this one.
So I don't know, man. I fucking you know what? Actually, I ended up enjoying this podcast a little more than I thought. I've been dreading this. It's just it is so difficult, Keegs, to go to a game that people grew up playing. Because that's the thing is, and if you disagree with me or you don't believe me, look it up. I have looked up countless opinions on this game because I'm like,
Mhm.
am I like it's the Principal Skinner meme. I'm like, am I so out of touch? And it's like, no, it's the gamers who are wrong. And I was like, am I crazy? And it really not, you can't put a blanket statement on it, but it really does seem like for the most part, people that love this game grew up playing it, and people that are
Mhm.
playing it now for the first time are like, it's okay. It's not, like and that's
Mhm.
how I feel about it. I don't think it's awful. I don't like it as much as Final Fantasy 7, 8, or 9. Yell at me if you will. I like all 3 of those games better.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't finish it. I don't really have an urge to finish it. But I would
Yeah, I don't
love,
blame
you know
you.
what I
You
would love?
you've seen everything the game has to show you at this point,
Yeah. I would
besides the crazy ass story, but you can watch
I
videos on that.
yeah. I'd be all about a remake of this game. Not a
Mhm.
remaster, but like a full-blown remake where they speed shit up and clean up some of the balancing, and increase the inventory and stuff
Yeah.
like cuz I really when you boil it down to its most core basic concept, I like what the game was trying to do.
Mhm.
I just didn't like the way it did it, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
It tried to do some really cool stuff and then there was just too much of it.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me. Like it
Yes.
for to go back to your ice cream analogy, for me, it's a flavor of ice cream I liked, but I asked for 2 scoops and they gave me 17. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's too many scoops. I can't eat all this ice
Yeah.
cream.
And it took them half an hour to fucking scoop it because
Yeah.
they do a 20-minute
It's like
animation while
this
they
is
scoop it.
melted now.
Yeah. While they're scooping it, they're jumping in the air and doing flips and shit like that. Anyways. You done? I feel good. We got to score this
Uh
thing. Is there anything
yeah.
we missed?
Uh not real. Oh, we missed saying that Rose is the black monster.
Oh, I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, that's why she like when you're saying she's the Raphael and she's just like a dick. I was like, yeah, she's kind of a dick the entire game
Oh,
because they're constantly talking about the Black Monster and like, oh, Black Monster this, Black Monster that, and she's just standing right there, knowing full well they're talking about her, and
Rose is
doesn't
so
try
cool.
to do anything to try and like, temper their feelings towards the Black Monster and try and like maybe get them to think that the Black Monster was justified in anything they've done, but
Yeah,
like
yeah. Man,
no,
Rose
Black
is so
Monster
cool.
was she was jealous, which is
R-
fair.
Yeah, it is fair. She's
Her
so cool.
fiance left her for a fucking human and had a kid, so she tried to kill everybody.
And I like that. I like that her
She's a
name
country
is
song.
yeah, yeah. She only is a country song, and I like that her name is Rose, but she's like the darkest character in the game. Like
Mm,
Rose is what you would think that Shanna's name would be. But
But every rose has its thorn.
every rose has its thorn. And the best
Just
rose,
like Brett Michaels said
well,
about a prostitute.
I was about to say that the best rose is the Final Fantasy IV rose, but I actually like this rose better. She's more
Yeah.
badass than that one.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, was that her name, Rose, in Final Fantasy IV? Yeah, it was.
Was it Rose or Rosa?
Rosa. It was Rosa. Glad I caught that. Otherwise, I'd be getting fucking emails for the next 2 months about people. It was Rosa, so never mind.
Yeah.
Rosa's better than Rosa. Anyway, all right, we got to score this thing. The scale I had in mind is there's 108 fucking generations of species or whatever the fuck it is. So we can either go with that or we could go with a rating out of fucking 200 because it takes 200 minutes to finish a battle in this game. But I would rather end on a non-catty comment. So we'll go 108.
Yeah, let's go 108.
Keegs, out of 108 generations of species or whatever the fuck it is, what would you score The Legend of Dragoon? Take your time because I'm stuck.
Go like a solid like maybe 99.
Wow.
Like it's good. I still love the game, but it hasn't aged like milk like a lot of that generation of just games in general, especially RPGs have for me that I found. But like it's got its issues, and I can look past my nostalgia for the game and be like, yep, those are issues of the game. It'd be nice if they were different, but
yeah. Boy.
Way she goes. It's the way of the road, bubs.
The way of the road. I can't do 99. I can fucking tell you that right now. If we're just talking about how much I like it, I'm giving it like a 60. But if I'm looking at like the quality of the game, probably around that like 75 to 80. Like I would give it like a 7 out of 10. I don't think it's a bad game. I don't think it's unplayable. I will say of like the PS, like I'm trying to think of like what PS1 RPGs I've played enough to talk about with any form of like sense of knowledge. And it's Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, Wild Arms, this.
Oh, Wild Arms is a good one.
I like Wild Arms. And then I guess like, unless you're counting like Final Fantasy Tactics or Alundra or something, but if you're just sticking to like the more traditional like JRPGs, that might be it. I do think this is my least favorite of that bunch. But the problem is that like, I really liked what it was trying to do. I just didn't like the way it did it. So I'll give it like a 75 out of 108. I don't think it's terrible. I don't know.
It's certainly no Bubsy.
It's no Bubsy,
for sure.
But few are, my friend. Few are. Anyway.
Yeah, like Bubsy too.
You know, and the other thing about it, dude, as we should wrap this up, but like it fucking the PS1 was just such a goddamn RPG powerhouse. That like, again, like I don't even know. You could argue with me that it's not fair to compare it to Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9. And I'd be like,
no,
sure.
It's absolutely fair.
Maybe
they did it themselves.
I agree. I'm like, dude, they're the same genre on the same console from the same era. That's like, it's like comparing Mario to Sonic, like Super Mario World and Sonic 2. Like you can compare those
even
games.
more so though, because this is like Square left Nintendo to make games for Sony, and this is Sony's version of a Final Fantasy killer. Like this is what it was supposed to be. Expectations were huge, right? First party RPG at the end of the console's lifetime from the RPG console.
Yeah. It's fine.
It fell a little short. That's all.
Yeah, it did. It's fine. I don't know. I don't really feel a need to ever play it again unless it gets remade, or even, you know how like you can get like you can get the old school Final Fantasies now with like the quality of life improvements where you can go like triple speed and stuff. If I could even do that with this one.
There's no triple speed, but there is rewind in the newest version.
I need to speed up. I don't need to go back and watch the slow animations again.
Yeah.
I need to fucking speed up. If that was in there, maybe you'd get me back. Anyway, good enough.
Nice.
We did it. I don't think that was the worst podcast I've ever done. I'll get some shit for that, but not nearly as much as Sonic Adventure 2. And I will say this is a better game than Sonic Adventure 2. I'll throw that out there right now.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
I like Sonic Adventure 2.
Oh, fuck. I'm not going down that. I'm fucking fuck. Anyways, buddy, thanks a lot for doing this, man. I appreciate it as always.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
And that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Keeks, thank you so much for giving me a shout and talking the legend of Dragoon. And I guess normally I thank my guests, then I thank the listeners, and I fucked it up and did it the other way this time. But just thanks, everybody. If at any point you've talked to me about this game or my voice talking about this game has found your ears, thank you. I appreciate it very, very much. If you didn't hate this show, I got to ask, leave us a nice review. Would you? If they offset the bad reviews, and which we don't have that many of, fortunately. And all the good podcasts ask for them, so I guess I have to as well. Leave us a nice review somewhere, huh? It's free. It would really help the show, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it would. And if you want more of these, woohoo, I'm not saying this lightly, there are hundreds upon hundreds of bonus archived podcasts, all ad-free, waiting for you right now for as little as $2 a month at patreon.com/rememberthegame. You keep the bills on around here. You keep Molly fed. We donate a little bit of it to charity. You get tons of extra podcasts. Plus, you can DM with me and join the Discord and write into the show and play one, remake one, erase one, and all those other things. It's pretty well the best value in the history of the internet. So patreon.com/rememberthegame. If you want more information about that, I'm on Twitch at twitch.tv/memberthegame. Thank you so much to everyone that's followed me over there. I have no real set streaming schedule. I just get on there whenever I can. It's been a little slow lately, but I'll get back on there soon. I just have a lot of stand-up comedy going on right now. And we have a P.O. Box. Don't send me anything big. People send me giant gifts, and I'm very grateful and humbled by that. I just want postcards, just letters, just nice little messages. Let me know where you are, that you're listening to the show. Give me your address. I'll send you one back. We'll be pen pals. It's like I'm in prison. It'll be fun. So do that if you want to. You can find that address at rememberthegamepodcast.com with information about our Patreon and all those other things you want as well. All right. That's going to do it for this week's episode. I'm going to thank some of those Patreons and get the hell out of here. I'll be back tomorrow for all those patrons with Expansion Pass 154. Is it 50? I think 154. It's 153 or 154. Where I'll be reviewing Hi-Fi Rush for the Xbox. I'll be back on Friday with Game Patch. We'll talk about all the biggest news in modern video games. And then next week, it's a full slate of podcasts. On Monday, it's Purple Monkey Dishwasher Episode 2, where Mark McHugh and I will be reviewing Bart the Genius, the second episode of The Simpsons. I'll be back on Tuesday with The Rambling Idiot. And then on Wednesday, a week from right now, it's Remember the Game number 241, which, if everything lines up as it's planned, will be about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 Radical Rescue for the Game Boy. A hidden gem if there ever was one, all right? And thanks a lot, everybody. I will talk to you on the next one. Cheers. So long. Goodbye. Remember the Game is brought to you by our Patreons. I could not puke up all the content I churn out every week without all of your support. The following people are at the senior executive vice president level or higher at patreon.com/rememberthegame, and as such, I am contractually obligated to list off their names as quickly as possible. So a huge thank you to Makeshift Mallow Magic Money, Joe Buck, Sharonic, Andre, I'm a stupid moron with an ugly face and a big butt, and my butt smells and I like to kiss my own butt, James Clark, Dave McGee, DNA Gaming, Slick Rick, Doug Dorn, Chris Fleury, Andrew Wright, Jordan Fraser Burns, Angry Ticks, Dave Thompson, No One Cares, Scott Brooks, Aaron Lawson, Nathan Tremblay, A-Town Morgan, Zane Donovan, Ryan Kinchin, Mike Maloney, G9PSX, Mercury 869, Wolfgang Darren, Sam Wright, Andy Hudson, Doogie, Wolf Magic 21, Johnny CCDC, Joe LeBlanc, Squints, Titan 420, Zonko 504, Russell Aldrich, Jeff Bergeron, Captain N, OT Plays Games, Daniel, Tunable Power, John Woodruff, Randy Baird, Just a Fish, Poop Q, Super Dad Bros Podcast, and Zalo, Holmes, Zach Shepard, Chris Dickin, Frosty Feet 492, Triple, Chugger 22, Elijah Burns, Stephen Parnell, Welsh Destroyer, Race N Watonga, Zach Coiner, DBXJ, Jameer Williams, Steve Dalk, Mizuru, Jacob Adams, Phil Lencher, Joe the Sandman, Ruben Elizald, Eric James, Jake Carter, Thomas Childs, Biddy, Laces Out Damn, Beaver Boy, C-Spin, Thomas Smith, Nicola, Munch Makuchi, Leroy Westrich, Evolva, Sean Ramos, DB Cooper, Stud Still Smash, Brant Hewitt, Gabe, Dan Fusselman, Fuzzy99, Decoy Man, a dude named Adam, John Jameson, Wyatt the Surgeon who's not a surgeon, Roe, Blaine the Hoagie who's not a hoagie man. That sounded funnier in my head. Scary Terry, Bucky the Beagle Herder, Antonio Echeverria, Hegel Waffle, High Plains Drifter, Esteban Navarro, K-Hatch, Timothy, Joe Stone, Chris Williams, Oroku Saki's Gardner, Cody Richardson, General Fury, Dem Boys on the Roof, current Remember the Game Hall of Famer Mark McHugh, James Juan Francesco, John of the Adult Children Podcast, Matt Hamilton, Daniel DeVore, Drugs a bed, okay, Sam Carpenter, Nerdy Hybrid, Adam Fletcher, Colin Bollinger, Sleeper Hit, Joey Mercury, Squeak Nuts, Isaiah, Timmy the Exuberant Turtle, Brian Neese, Christian Gabriel, Maverick Marty, Musty Beetle, Bud Lightyear, John M. Watkins, Timothy Sabrinsky, Beef Dingleberry, Michael Barjudina, Hitchy Poo, Arctic Vision, Bulma Simp, Mark but not McHugh, Trevor McKee, Burt McLean, Quiet Place Queen, Cam Nelly 23, Zamato, Skiller Rooney, Chris Lovin, oh my god, it froze, Bobby Litton, Brandon DeZeba, Kia Pup, Knife Goes In, Guts Come Out, Works For Me, Dakota Guy, Alexander Camps, Pizza Dude got 30 seconds, Ryan Perry, Alex R, It's the Bigfoot, Graham, Lucas Valadez, Itchy Nutsuru, Mr. Papa Giorgio, Solomon Soto, Darth Skywalter, Denton Van Zandt, Postman, WestJet, Nick Creature, Adam Martinet, NAFE, Dr. Nightmare 23, Tomebone Swiss, Kevin Monroe, Shorzy, Digital Dave, Lord Longrod, Von Hugendog II, Frosty Bear, Max. I'm choking on my own spit here. Max Sandin, Sour Goatface, Alexis Ramos, Faded Sufferance, Tristan Anderson, Benjamin Atkins, Robbie DLC, B Money, Hired Goons, Who, Brandon Helmheckle, The Fiend, Ryan Colton, It's OG, Tyler Bauer, It's Fallen Snow, Kiku, Dill Pickle Rick, E-Man Trucker, Mark Sneed, That One Kid Josh, Raging Demon, Atrio Wormwood, Agent Booty Pants, Shoeboxers, Adam still hasn't reviewed Banjo Tooie, Jay Callahan, Robbie Air, Sabin, Brian Richmond, Devilish Saint, Blobby K. Rogers, Super Nintendo Chalmers, Glue Scappin, Bula, CJ Knoll, Matt Zeus, Buy Me Bone Storm, Plow King, and Caesar. That was a pretty fucking solid list altogether. I'm pretty goddamn proud of that. Thanks so much, everybody, for the support. I appreciate you. And Adam Blank still hasn't reviewed Banjo Tooie. Get ready to change your motherfucking name. Take it easy, everybody. See you on the next one. Cheers.